It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul's here, Richard's here. We're going to talk about the Microsoft drama of the year for this week and what you could do about it. Also, a whole bunch of new features in our Week D update to Windows 11. And why is it that all Copilot Plus PCs don't have the same features? I don't know. Plus, DuckDuckGo, a new AI from Paul's favorite service, Proton, and a liquor pick of the week. That and a lot more coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Richard Campbell, episode 942, recorded Wednesday, July 23rd, 2025. A world of wonder. It's time for Windows Weekly. Hello, all you winners. This is the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with the two smartest Microsoft observers in the business. Mr. Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com, coming to us live from Mexico City, California. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Leo. Or should I say, hola, Leo.
Hola. Actually, we're in New Mexico. No, what is it? What do they call California? Did they used to call it New Mexico? Anyway, you're in Old Mexico. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I would
the
call
original.
it the Mexico.
The Mexico.
El Mexico.
Also from the Canada, Mr. Richard Campbell. Hello, Richard.
Hi.
Hello. We're going to be doing something with Richard tomorrow.
Yeah,
Just want to let the world know, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC. Were you going to build a computer?
Yep. We got all the parts sitting behind me, actually. We're going to build out an AMD with a Ryzen 9.
Ooh.
And,
what is this computer for?
This is going to replace this streaming machine, actually.
Oh.
This streaming machine is a Gen 8 Intel, and it is done.
Time to say goodbye.
Yeah, I'm amazed it still works, honestly, half the time. But it's been well cared for, and the parts are used up and just getting a little wonky. So good.
Yeah.
Go modern.
So that's not that old. Is it 7 or 8 years old? How old?
Yeah, I think 10.
10. Okay,
That's old.
Yeah,
that's old.
And it was a secondary workstation. The whole time. It's just got more important.
What do you? I mean, they say that 7 dog years for every human year.
Yeah.
What's the PC equation?
It's minute by minute.
I used to say 15 years for every human year.
Yeah.
So that would be a 150-year-old computer.
Well, it's the same number of years, but it starts when you're 60 and that person has dementia.
Okay. Anyway, watch our Windows.
At least a pave or two on this since I built it. So.
We will start with the parts in a pile, and we will end with a booting Windows 11 computer. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
If you guys want, I could do a shorter show where I go to HP's refurbished store and buy a computer, and then they ship it to my house.
Or we could do a longer show where you get the new ARM development kit for Windows 11, and we're still waiting.
I've still got mine sitting there. I'm going to wiring it up to an AB switch. But
oh, good. What'd you do with yours, Paul?
Getting these parts has cost more than just buying a machine.
The Snapdragon dev kit I sent you. What'd you do with that?
It's there's an element of today's show that will explain that. So let's.
How exciting! It's coming up.
A little surprise.
Stay tuned for the mystery segment. But we begin, as often we do, with the Microsoft drama of the year of the week.
I mean, honestly, I could have picked 3 or 4 things for this, but this has happened a couple of times recently where there are these kind of recurring themes, and one of the recurring themes today will be Microsoft's retreat from the consumer market, which, frankly, occurred about 20 years ago. But anyway, many people or some people may not know this, but the Microsoft store that used to be the Windows store that's in Windows 11 used to sell music, right? Through Groove at one point and Xbox at a different point. And
movies, right? And TV.
Movies and TV shows. Yeah. eBooks, remember?
I remember buying them on my Xbox, buying movies.
Yeah, that was not a good decision. So,
Yeah, but I've been wondering where they went, actually. Yeah.
yeah. Soon you're really going to be wondering where they go. We'll see what happens. But when Microsoft transitioned away from music, they offered, well, they didn't really do much, but they said, hey, maybe you should do Spotify instead, or whatever. eBooks, they didn't really have anything to say. I think 3 people bought an ebook from them. No big deal there. But this past week, they announced or revealed in a support document, really not an announcement, that they were getting rid of the movies and TV show service, I'll call it. So this is the part of the store by which you could buy or rent movies or buy TV show episodes or series. Why anyone would do this for Microsoft, now, seeing how the world has gone, is unclear. But yeah. So
what I did back in the day is I moved it all to Movies Anywhere, which used to be a Disney feature.
And that puts it in your other collections like
Right.
Apple and I think Amazon and
Right.
Google, I guess, as well.
Yeah, all of them were. Yeah, it used to be everybody. I don't know if it was limited movies or not. Let me just log in and see what I got.
It should be called Not All Movies Anywhere because it's
Some movies.
It's a licensing thing.
3 of the top 5 studios. Yeah. So depending on which movies you purchased, and it's only movies, not TV shows. Some subset of your content will be available elsewhere.
Yeah.
So for the time being, you'll be able to access this content from the Movies and TV app was built into Windows 10 and 11. It now no longer comes in Windows 11, but you can get it through the store. It is a delightfully old-fashioned app. It was never really updated. I mean, it's got kind of almost like a Windows 8 UI. And every time I update that part of the book, I look at this again and think to myself, it's a little suspicious that they've never updated this or updated the media player app that they have now that's more modern to support that content. But they haven't. And then they never had a mobile client either, right? Which is a big part of the problem. So yeah, I get it's not a surprise. The surprise was how it happened and when it happened, because this could have happened honestly at any time. But yes, if you did buy content from Microsoft, definitely connect it to Movies Anywhere.
I don't know where all these. I have 166 movies in here.
Yeah, but they're probably from various services, right?
Yeah, because I think I linked everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, there's no reason not to. It was particularly important to do this for Microsoft guys because we don't have a mobile platform unless you're, carrying around like a Surface tablet or something like that. We don't have a phone. So if you want to watch this content on like an iPad or a phone or whatever, you can't do it from here. So if it's in Movies Anywhere, you can from various clients. But yeah, the whole mobile thing and the fact that they never updated it over 2 generations of Windows now kind of highlights the fact that they were not really serious about this thing to begin with. So I don't know.
I mean, I appreciate that Microsoft's finally killing off products they don't care about rather than just leaving them hanging.
I agree.
One would argue they could have shut down Skype 10 years ago or 5 years ago, something. Skype at least was a decent brand. I mean, this thing was not even a brand. I mean, it used never
to be
good. It was barely supported. It should have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's also a reminder of this whole idea that you think you own anything when it's dependent on the cloud.
Yep. This kind of event always triggers the same 2 reactions. You get the guy on social media who's like, "Oh, I didn't even know they had this." Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But then you get these guys like, "Oh, this is a big problem. I bought like 500 movies from this thing." And it's like, what?
Right.
Like, where were you when common sense was doled out? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's crazy.
Over in the smart home world, we're in the middle of this crisis from this Norwegian company called Future Home, who went bankrupted themselves. Same guy started to back up. They pushed an update out just before the bankruptcy to shut everybody's service off, and then you can resubscribe for $100 a year to the new service, or you lose all your functionality.
I don't know if I've mentioned this, but big tech is terrible. And I know it's kind of a unique concept.
A group of local hackers figured out how to revert to the old firmware and helped everybody get back to functionality, and now they're being sued.
Oh
boy.
Who's the bad guy again?
The lawyers in that scenario, actually. Yeah. So, like I said, not a surprise, but timing is just weird. I don't know. It just happened. Just came out of nowhere,
Yeah. But
Like a
like I said, I
comet
feel
hitting the
like
Earth.
there's
I
a
don't know.
wave now of Microsoft seems to be cleaning the ship up. Like they're really concerned about competing for AI, and they're cutting away other stuff. They're putting lots of pressure on their employees.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
there are more dramas coming.
When Apple started making Mac OS 10, and then that was kind of the primary concern of that company for several years before iPhone happened or whatever. The big story there was like Apple really aggressively gets rid of old features. They get rid of CRUF, and maybe too aggressively, right?
Yeah.
Apple, or Microsoft rather, was the exact opposite on that spectrum. And in recent years, you can see that in things like Microsoft maintains lists of deprecated and removed features in Windows, and you can see it actually does escalate over time. So last couple of years, maybe even 3 years, kind of a upward spike on that kind of thing. And yeah, this is a problem because it hurts people who bought content. They spent real money on this stuff, and they might want to access it. Although, I mean, if they did, they would have noticed, surely, that there were not many ways to access this content. You were pretty much stuck on a PC, and then you could, I guess, cast it to a compatible device if you somehow have a Miracast-enabled TV or something, I guess. But,
I mean, odds are you aren't using it. You didn't even realize you're not.
Yeah. Even the guys who are complaining, I think pretty much are like, yeah, I bought all this content. I mean, I haven't looked at it ever, but it's like, okay, but yeah. But yeah, all you can do for now is sign up for movies anywhere. If you haven't, connect your Microsoft account to it. That will put it, some of the content, like I said, you have to go look at it, see how much, you can.
I think Paramount, MGM, don't have a deal. It says at the bottom. So some of your movies won't.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't looked at this in a while, but for me, I was running about 2/3. So about 2/3 of my content, purchase content over whatever services was in there.
Is there I can't remember how this works. Is there an app that you use then?
No. So
movies
there is, but you would never use that, right? So in other words, you as a consumer might use an iPad and use Apple service, right? Probably, right? Or you're a Google.
So
guy,
does
Android.
Apple see everything in movies anywhere?
Yes. Right. And it works in the opposite direction too. So if you are a Microsoft guy and use movies and TV, the app, you will see in there any content from other services that you bought that are compatible with movies.
Actually, that's pretty cool.
Library.
Yeah. So if anything I buy anywhere.
This kind of gets past that kind of DRM silo problem where this will come up again later in the show, but I had gone back to 2005 to look at what was pertinent at the time in the Microsoft world, as we'll discuss later. But there were all these services I had completely forgotten about that still existed then, like Cinema Now.
Oh yeah,
like there were all these like different services, so they all had different DRMs. They weren't compatible. You could buy, like a movie from this one and a TV show over here, but you'd have to have the app, and it was just stupid. It was like
Where do you get your movies
smartphone.
now? What would be the sensible way to do this?
I've always gone with Apple. Because buy a TV. I rip them from a torrent. I heard this website's called Pirate Bay, something like that. Yeah, it's they have a surprising amount of content, and it's
remarkable.
It's really cheap. You can't really stream it, but it's No, I've bought most of my content from Apple, but I did sign up for
Apple too, but
different services and stuff. But mostly because I feel like they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
like I feel like this is part of their whatever. No, I know it's ridiculous, but
I did buy a DVD player, and Scott Wilkinson, the home theater geek guy, talked me into it.
So,
and I'm now looking at movies anywhere, and I realized I just rebought all the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies that I already had, but I had them streaming, so now I have them on 4K UHD. I guess that's better.
Right. So you get them from Apple or wherever, they're 4K UHD.
No one can take them away from me. Yeah.
You get them on a DVD, it's like 720 by 480. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's a thumbnail. That's the size of the icons on my desktop. I mean, that's tiny.
Now, if you're going to do this, you got to go get a 4K player, and you got to start buying the 4K media.
Yeah.
And they look good. I mean, that's what I do but I don't.
I think you could make the case, because some content has never come forward to these newer, like to digital.
Right.
Maybe there's a DVD of there's a couple of movies actually I do have on DVD because they're not on digital, right? So that's one way to get those. And,
I just got 2 catalogs in the mail. I'm not sure where they got my name. but they sell DVDs. Like not even
nice.
Not even 4K. Some of them are just DVDs. But that's what their pitch is. Build your collection because you can't get these on streaming.
Yep. Yeah. I look. I get that. I mean, that's true of books too. There are some books that are just on paper.
Yeah.
Like we're Cro-Magnons or something. Like, so whatever.
If I'm going down this DVD player route, I have to have more children because somebody's got to load that DVD, and it ain't going to be me.
Yeah, exactly. Get one of those. Did they have those carousel players? Remember these there for DVDs or for CDs?
The problem is I don't often watch a movie again.
No.
Yeah.
That's really.
I try to buy movies when they're super cheap on sale, like if they're $5 or less or whatever. Like, and it's something I know I'll probably watch again. Like I'll do that. But yeah, I do this knowing that these might just disappear someday. Apple's financial situation is perilous right now. So
never know what could happen.
Yeah, beleaguered Apple. Am I right?
Yeah, this was it. Movies Unlimited.
Interesting. It feels a little limited to me, but I see what you're saying.
I don't really want to pay money for these things I already own, right?
Some people like stuff, they like to have physical things. They like to have a wall where they can see, just kind of show off to themselves.
Until they move.
Electrons at this point.
That's my thing. That's my thing. Until you move.
Until you move, then it's.
And I've moved a lot. Let me tell you something. Aside from being a giant pile of kindling, the multiple bookshelves of books that I've owned over the years were also the heaviest things I've ever had to move ever.
Right.
They're the worst. They're literally dead. Well, not literally.
But I love books. That's the difference. I'm not crazy about plastic discs, or even vinyl discs, but I love books.
But at least discs don't degrade ever, and they don't scratch. So I don't know what's your problem.
They rust.
Nothing is perfect. I think is the lesson here. But I would take personally, if it was important to me, I would buy that thing on. I've done this. Like you buy it on disc, and then you rip it to a digital format, store it on your NAS or whatever you have, and then access it that way.
It's
right?
Plex,
like you want to, use
and you could then
copy.
have it all 4K UHD. You could have it as good a quality as you.
I mean, these days, you can upscale stuff too. That's the other thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe that's what I should do because I do have, I think, 30 terabytes of storage.
I do have.
Considering the progression of AI at this point, you're just going to be able to say to your TV, "Play Jaws," and it'll fabricate one out of whole cloth.
What do you want the shark to look like? Because
exactly. Play Jaws, but I want the shark to be my ex-boss, and I want to be the one that stabs him in the head at the end. Like that kind of thing.
That's.
I feel like that could happen right now in ChatGPT.
It is sometimes though. You do go to these streaming servers and you say, I really want to see planes, trains, and automobiles, and you can't find it. That actually happened to me some years ago. All of Steve Martin's stuff is now on streaming, but it wasn't for some reason.
For a while. Yeah,
for a long time.
Fundamentally, every one of us should pause for a moment and consider the fact that every single company pushing AI really hard right now cannot handle basic search queries. I just want to throw that out there. Like, I can't tell you how good Google Photos was at finding things until they added AI to it. And now it is like asking a child to go into a room full of stuffed animals and pull a random one out and be like, nope, that's not it. Try again. Nope, that's not it. It's ridiculous. I don't know how this has happened, but oh well, at least in Microsoft land it never worked anyway. So for us, that's our Siri, the search that never worked, But yeah.
We live in a world of
wonder. I wonder why nothing works.
I wonder.
He said,
that's the wonder.
Paradoxically, yes. Yep.
It's a world of wonder.
Listen, if you're into heartbreak and disappointment, personal technology is an excellent field. Highly recommend it.
Wow. What a world. Yeah, I was a little disappointed. I had this AI thing that I was wearing all the time.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were going to say this.
The B computer, and they announced yesterday they just got sold to Amazon.
So did you stop wearing that because of Amazon, or did you?
The first thing I did when I read that announcement is I went to my account, deleted it, and now this is retired because I don't want Amazon. This literally recorded everything I did and said for 6 months.
Right, and you don't want
treasure trove
to have access to that information.
Why do you think Amazon bought them?
It wasn't for the fun little device form factor thing.
By the way, they thanked Panos Panay for buying them.
They did.
Yeah.
Listen, no one knows more about successful devices than Panos Panay.
It's funny because I And I know, Paul, you're this way, and Richard, you probably are too. We love tech.
Mhm.
That's why we got in this business. That's why we do what we do. We love what technology can do.
But there's like a but in this sentence.
There's a big but.
Comes the but.
And the but is, why do we stay in this relationship? We get
It's
abused.
abusive.
We defend them.
Abusive.
It's like, where did that scar come from? It wasn't AI. I did that to myself. I tripped
Officer,
down the stairs and then up the stairs and
He's-
then down again.
big tech said they love me, and it'll never happen again.
It's my fault. I made him mad.
I fell on the knife several times and self-inflicted.
It's too bad because we could live in a world of wonder.
mean-
I wonder what happened.
Yeah.
I love that, Paul.
That's
by the
why
way.
we have Pixar movies.
Yeah.
Everything can be fixed with a little bit of Wall-E.
Well, now that you've depressed all of us.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah. So anybody want to buy a little AI device? I even got a nice, cute little.
That
necklace
totally
for
is
it.
not being listened to by.
This is what
Amazon.
everybody always said. Oh, Alexa listens to everything you said. It doesn't. This does, and Amazon just bought it.
I have in Mexico, we don't have the same restrictions on Chinese tech that you have in the United States. And I have a little Huawei router over there that's blinking as I say the word Huawei. And I'm pretty sure,
Ni hao.
pretty sure those guys are listening. I'm just saying.
Yeah. They're listening in a digital way. They're watching the traffic.
No, I mean listening to me talk about Huawei. I think I'm pretty sure.
I think they're actually listening.
I think they're listening. Why is there a microphone on this thing?
Well, that's the funny thing. You start to see TV sets with cameras and microphones.
Right.
Oh, that's so you can make Zoom calls. That's why.
Right. I mean, it could be.
Why.
That could be one of the things it's for.
It's
Yeah.
not why.
That's an option on Apple TV. You can add an external camera.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? What is wrong with you people? I want a dumb screen and I want to watch videos. That's
Let
all.
me. This would be an apt time to talk about ThreatLocker and take a break
Yes.
for our sponsor.
It blends
and,
nicely.
Yes. And then we shall return with Windows 11. It's week D time once again. Surface News, AI, lots of good stuff. Xbox, and of course, a little whiskey at the end to reward you for your patience and tolerance. Our show today brought to you by ThreatLocker. Love these guys. In fact, I'm really hoping that we can go out and do a show. I think we might. I'm hoping we can go out to. They do something called Zero Trust World in Florida every spring, and I'm really hoping we can go out for Zero Trust World. Zero Trust is exciting. It's a really good way of protecting yourself. You know, ransomware is rampant. It is harming businesses and city governments and schools and hospitals worldwide. It's getting in a variety of ways. There's phishing emails, infected downloads, malicious websites, RDP exploits, what they call candy drops, where a little USB key, you find it in the parking lot. Oh, look at this. A free USB key. Don't be the next victim. No matter what the approach is by the bad guys, ThreatLocker's Zero Trust platform will protect you. It does it simply. And these are the key 3 words with a proactive deny by default approach. Deny by default. It blocks every unauthorized action. That USB key, if it's not authorized to load, it isn't going to load. That protects you from unknown threats no one ever heard of before. It works with 0 days. That's why big companies that need to stay high flying, like JetBlue, and infrastructure plays like the Port of Vancouver use ThreatLocker. It shields them from 0-day exploits, from supply chain attacks, and this is a nice side effect, it provides a complete audit trail for compliance. It's a great compliance tool. ThreatLocker's innovative ring fencing technology, that's what they call it, isolates critical applications from weaponization. It deny by default. It's magical. It stops ransomware. It limits lateral movement within your network. And the nice thing about ThreatLocker, it works everywhere in every industry, supports Mac environments as well as Windows, provides 24/7 US-based support, enables comprehensive visibility and control, and it's very affordable. I was actually surprised how inexpensive it is to implement ThreatLocker and how easy and quick. Just ask Mark Tolson. He's the IT director for the city of Champaign, Illinois. As you know, city government's really a target for ransomware. He says, Threat Locker, this is a direct quote, Threat Locker provides that extra key to block anomalies that nothing else can do. If bad actors got in and tried to execute something, I take comfort knowing Threat Locker will stop that. End quote. Stop worrying about cyber threats. Get unprecedented protection quickly, easily, and cost effectively with Threat Locker. Visit threatlocker.com/twit to get a free 30-day trial and learn more about how Threat Locker can help mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance. That's threatlocker.com/twit. We thank them so much for their long-term support for everything we do here at Twit and for Windows Weekly. They support Windows Weekly, and we appreciate it. Thank you, Threat Locker. Browse around. I think you'll be impressed by not only what it can do, but how easy it is to implement and how affordable. All right, let's talk Windows 11.
So it's week D in Microsoft land, and I had forgotten about that, like I often do on that Tuesday of the month. And Microsoft put out these 3 back-to-back, I guess I'll call them, announcements related to Windows somewhat, that were all very confusing to me. We're going to highlight all of them today. The first was regards to these new AI features that were coming to Windows, or in Microsoft's view, new AI features that are generally available for Windows 11 today. And I was like, really? That's an odd time to release new features for Windows, a random Tuesday of the month. So I looked at the list and I'm like, none of these are new. I know about all of these features. What is this? And then it took me a while to realize Microsoft doesn't understand how the English language works. Microsoft doesn't know how to make an announcement. And these features are all just things that were in the Windows Insider program for the past few months. It's week D. That's what they're talking about. So there is a preview update, which is a cumulative update, a quality update, but it's optional. It's a preview update. You can enable a switch in Windows Update to get those things if you like living on the edge a little bit, but most people are not going to get this thing. So I'm not sure generally available. I mean, these features could still change. There could be bugs that will now be revealed by more people using them. And then when Patch Tuesday comes in August, right? Yep, it's July. Maybe they'll be a little different. Who knows? Anyway, generally available. So these are all things we've talked about. The Settings app has an agent. Oh, actually, let me backtrack for 1 second. These features can be divided into 2 buckets, Copilot plus PCs only. Actually, let's call it 3 buckets. Copilot plus PC running Snapdragon processor.
Right.
Copilot plus PC running any processor, meaning AMD, Intel, or Snapdragon. And then features that are going to come to everybody in Windows 11. Most of the features are only for Snapdragon. Is that right? Or I should say, I think most of them are only for Snapdragon. So if you have a Snapdragon X computer, it's about 3 of you, you will eventually get all of these features. If you have another type of Copilot plus PC, you will eventually get all of these features, a little bit longer time frame. And if you are a lowly loser on Windows 11 on a normal computer, like a jerk, you will get a couple of these features. Right. So enjoy. The first one is Snapdragon only. Is that right? I'm having such a hard time keeping track of these things. It's so weird.
And if
settings,
there's a difference in Copilot plus PCs is disturbing.
It's unbelievable. It clearly there's a behind the scenes deal between Qualcomm and Microsoft that I feel like maybe should have expired by now.
Yeah.
So in Settings Agent, all this means is you can use natural language search in settings and find settings, right? Okay. It will come to AMD and Intel based Snapdragon Copilot plus PCs at some point in the future. I don't think it will be that Tuesday next month, but maybe the following month, something like that. There's a bunch of improvements. We've talked about all these things for Click to Do, which I would say is the one useful, maybe universally useful local AI feature that's in or Copilot plus PC, not Windows, but Copilot plus PC today. Practice in reading coach. These are all text actions, right? So when you do the Windows key plus click and you get the purple, pink AI frippery, these will be some of the new options. Read with Immersive Reader. That was the feature that debuted in Edge, but now is available more broadly if you have a Copilot plus PC. Draft with Copilot in Word, which is a weird one because don't you need a Microsoft 365 Copilot license? I got to look that one up.
Sure.
Yep. And yeah, so not sure why that's listed in the Windows thing, but whatever. And then 2 related to Teams. Send a team message and schedule a team meeting. So in other words, you've got some text. You want to use that as the basis for one of those Teams actions. That's cool. Only on Copilot Plus PCs, a new Photos app feature called Photo Relight. This one actually looks really cool. Actually, sorry, Snapdragon X only. AMD and Intel are coming soon. I told you it was confusing.
Yep.
I've not seen this one yet, and I'm not going to now because I'm in Mexico and I won't see my
Snapdragon X isn't there with you.
Yeah, till I get home. But a couple of weeks. But it looks really cool. So this is you can take an existing photo. This is like when you on your phone, depending on the app, you can adjust certain features after the fact. So for example, if you take like a portrait shot on your iPhone, if you did it with live photos, you can adjust the bokeh effect or whatever on the fly after the fact, right? So this is like that, but for lighting, you can have up to 3 virtual light sources. There are built-in presets, which I think most people will use, but then there's also manual control. So you can really kind of play with it. Sounds great. I haven't used it, but it sounds good. If you have a Copilot Plus PC, I believe this one is AMD, Intel, and Snapdragon. 2 new features in Paint. These I have used. Sticker generator. I think you can agree I would use this one on a daily basis. I love stickers. And object select, which is one of those kind of Photoshop type features where in addition to supporting layers and some other kind of more professional features, you can actually grab, even though it's a bitmap image, grab an object and then use AI to kind of cut it out of the frame and use it as a discrete object. That's cool. That one's good. 2 new features for snipping tool. I believe these are everybody, meaning Windows 11 broadly. One is called Perfect Screenshot. This is just an addition to the screenshotting tools or the snipping tools, as we say, in snipping tool. So you can take a region, you can do a window, you can do the full screen. But if you do the full screen, what Perfect Screenshot allows you to do is auto crop to maybe a region or window, and it will use whatever's on screen as the basis for that cropping. So it will do it for you. Yeah, it's fine. And Color Picker, which actually is surprisingly useful, right? There's no end shot or video out of this one. So it's kind of an interesting place to put it. But if you do a lot of graphics work or you're working on a logo, maybe you want the exact color of something that's on screen, this will allow you to grab the color of any item on screen and then copy it to the clipboard in whatever format you prefer. So like hashtag, FFFF, whatever, hex form, whatever you want. And then apply it in whatever graphics app you're using, and then get that exact color. So that's cool. I'm not sure why they listed this one because it's actually been broadly available for at least a month, but Edge Game Assist, this is that mini Edge web browser that's in the game bar. So you're playing a game. Yeah, you hit the window or the Xbox button on your controller. The Xbox game bar, they call it now, comes up, and that will be one of the floating windows. And if it recognizes the game, depending on the level of recognition that the support has to be built in, it will actually give you clues and tips for the part of the game you're in. If you're really lucky, I've not seen that, but in my case, I'll see in Call of Duty, it recognizes that I am playing Call of Duty 6 or Black Ops 6, and it will provide
against a group of 12-year-olds that are about to spank you.
Yeah, and then look, this guy's browsing the web. Let's pile it on.
That's good.
Yeah,
but it'd be cool if you were playing some role-playing game and when you hit that, it popped up and gave you a let's play or a walkthrough point and already aligned it.
Yeah, I mean, the end game here is that kind of gaming Copilot feature they've been talking about, where it's like your little buddy, and he,
Clippy for gaming.
Yeah, it looks like
you're a loser. Would you like
headshotted a lot there, Paul? Yeah, maybe you should duck. I don't just throw it out there.
That's your 5th time through this set of screens. Are you ready for the help?
I know. Right. I mean, it's definitely
Clippy for gaming is a good idea, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely going. That's coming. There's no doubt about it. Copilot
I've
Vision.
talked a few times about folks using the cameras to see that someone's thrashing on their app and try and help them. Like,
right.
That's a little
trying to
weird.
do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
I will say I turn my mic off. I turn everyone's mic off in multiplayer games. But the one exception to that, which I don't do a lot anymore, is if I was playing a free-for-all type of a game, leave the microphone on just so you can hear the guy that you surprise the heck out of be like, just to hear the exacerbated, kind of like frustration of how did he see me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Rigged.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Yeah. We, in the back of the day, we'd be like, nice ping, because it was never skill, I would always beat you normally. I'm great.
That's it. That 30 millisecond difference between us is the reason you succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is actually, but anyway, as the victim of that, it's really, it's like the volts versus amps thing. It's not really the ping. It's the frame. It's the, what do you call it? I guess the frame rate.
The latency.
The latency.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the term I was looking for. It's the latency.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. Copilot Vision, another feature. This has been around for a little while actually, but it's US only. It's available in the Copilot app, which, so everyone, I guess, lucky you. And then another one, I thought maybe I was wrong about this one because I have so many, it's hard for me to tell what's what anymore, but quick machine recovery. So this is the automatic recover option where something goes wrong, you reboot, and maybe it wouldn't boot into Windows normally. You'd have to go through the recovery environment. If you could figure out how to make that work, it will do that automatically for you. But there are two fun additions to this feature that will benefit a lot of people. One is the wait time, because what you would see typically is that blue screen of death, right? So it's blue, it's got the QR code, useless information at the bottom, and it takes a while, right? Yeah. Every time I see the screen, I'm like, I get it. It didn't work. Can I keep going, please? But it would wait for like up to 40 seconds, They've reduced that wait time up to 2 seconds. Cool. And they've changed the screen to black because now it's completely different. So,
but they don't have to change the acronym at least.
Yeah, right. Black screen of death, right?
That's good news.
So there you go. Yeah. So what I just listed out was pretty much 24H2, but 23H2 will get the same features if they're not already, same time frame. And there is a Windows 10 update as well, but that's pretty much bug fixes and basically just prepping this thing for
those features.
End of life. Yeah. Yep. And tied. Let me see if this is where we are. Yeah. No. We're in somewhere else. No, we're here. This is good. So this is good. This is a good transition. So when Windows 10 goes out of support for most people in October, Microsoft will by that point have ready a PC transfer feature that will expose itself in the Windows backup app so that you can, on either end of that transition, import or export your data to the other PC, right? So if you've ever set up Windows 11, you surely have seen, you get to a screen and it says, hey, would you like to recover from a previous backup? And that's something Windows Backup did behind your back without your acknowledgement, but whatever. And it restores some of the settings and things that you did. If it will restore the store apps that you installed, that kind of thing. I hate this feature. I wish I could turn it off. I always do a clean install, but whatever. It's fine. I get it. I get why people would want it. So this new
I'm still burned by the previous system restore feature that never worked. So
yeah.
It always screws things up. So I understand why your point of view, but it's better now, right?
I think that the feature you're referring to from a technical perspective was about 1,000 times more complex than what I'm describing now. But yeah, this is
you feel my pain. I'm sure.
Yeah. I can't say I've never been helped by it, but I'll just remain silent on that topic. So
occasionally, it's really helpful.
So in the future, when you run the Windows Backup app, you'll have two options. So today, what you get is a list of like 4 types of things you could back up. You can click a backup button. That's kind of pointless. It's going to do it anyway. But now there are going to be 2 top level options, and one of them is going to be about transferring to another PC. Or receiving from another PC, right? If you've just installed Windows on a new PC. So this thing will work over Wi-Fi. It's like a lap link type thing. It's not complete. It's not going to do your apps. It's not going to do certain things, but it's over and above the settings-based restore tool that we already have. So they've been implementing this in steps. There are bits of it in Windows 11 today. Probably, well, it won't be August, but maybe September, certainly September, I would think. They'll probably complete this, so we'll have both halves. And then at that point, you'll be able to migrate, partial migration from one PC to another PC, either Windows 11 or 10, right? So maybe you're upgrading from 10 to 11. Maybe in the future, you're going from 11 to 11, whatever. But okay. Also, by the way, asterisk, does not work with Windows 11 on ARM. Hilarious. Yet. I mean, it will, but yeah, there you go. Microsoft's classic.
It's a hard computer science problem, I'm sure.
I feel like it isn't. I feel like that should just work. I don't even understand what the problem is.
It shouldn't even matter what the processor is.
Should not matter. I couldn't agree more. Yep. Stupid. There hasn't been too much action on the insider front in the past week. There was a canary build. You may recall last week we were talking about a canary build with a lot of new stuff. There was one build with no new stuff, just a couple of bug fixes. And then there were big builds for dev and beta, which point to probably September timeframe for Windows update for Patch Tuesday. So yet again, more actions for Click to do, in this case for images, image descriptions and narrator. It's possible I've never experienced this in my life, despite the fact that I've been covering Windows for 30 years. They're making an improvement to the performance logs. So this is something people who watch this show have dealt with this interface. Most people have not, right? So it tied somewhat to what Leo just said about the previous, what do you call it? The restore system restore feature that's still, by the way, buried in Windows. If you want to search,
it's still there. Wow,
still there.
Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. You got to really look for it, but it's still there. Well, you can probably just search for it. Actually, it's there. If you search for system restore, but
system
it comes
restore.
right up.
Sure.
Yep. So if you want a little blast from the past, that's still there. We just mentioned blue screens, right? So you would blue screen, and the first thing you would do is go into the event log and try to figure out what it was. And if you're like me, you never once figured out what it was, but whatever. I mean, oftentimes with blue screens, it's a hardware thing. Maybe you just plug something in. Maybe you added some hardware. You find out that way, whatever. So this is similar to, if you think that Windows Backup is sort of a replacement for System Restore, sort of, I get it, and it sort of is. This is sort of a replacement for that process I just described. It will look at your system. It will see that things have been slowing down for some reason, and it will write more information to this performance log so that you can manually today, and I think automated in the future, because that's where Windows is going, figure out what is causing the problem, and then you can take the steps to solve it. So maybe
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's hard coded to say Chrome. It's going to be Chrome every time, right? So,
if you used Edge, you wouldn't have this.
If the number of tabs is over 5 and browser equals Chrome, it's Chrome.
The real question is, will it ever be a Microsoft product fault ever?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see where this goes. I mean, when they introduced Windows Backup, which, Windows 11, obviously, so as long ago as 4 years ago, I guess, I was like, this could turn into something really cool. That hasn't happened yet, but it has evolved. And this thing they're doing now is the biggest change. And, we'll see, but we'll see. I mean, I do like the notion that the system should figure out the problem and just fix it, right?
Yeah.
This is its own form of orchestration. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Telling you that there's a problem is like, yeah, I know there's a problem. It took 20 seconds to display the dialogue. Telling me how to fix something is pretty good. Just fixing it automatically is very good. So maybe we'll get there. We'll see.
It's a first step,
Yeah. And then just some lock screen and privacy improvements, which are not all that meaningful. But on the lock screen front, it was the ability to configure which widgets are there and in which order, right? Okay, fine. And I think we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. The search privacy settings were in 2 different locations in settings because Microsoft, and now they're in one, I guess. So,
ooh, fancy
progress.
I do have a question about your article on Week D.
Yes.
What's with the life and death of King John?
Who? What now?
Your screenshot. It's like,
that's from Microsoft. That's just a.
Oh, that's from Microsoft. They're asking Copilot to rewrite Shakespeare. Is that what we're talking here? I don't.
Yeah.
Actually,
so 1,000 monkeys or Copilot, given enough time. No, I think what they were trying to do here was select a screen that had text and image. And you can see that's the blue, pink, purple thing I've been talking about.
Yeah.
When you first do it, it's the whole screen. Well, it is sort of there too, I guess. But then it will highlight the things it can do stuff with. And
I
you
see.
can right click and choose from the.
Can't do anything with that picture.
This is a problem, this interface. And what I mean by that is it's a good idea in some sense. I like the idea of interact. I have a question about this thing, or I want to do something with this thing. Like, this is smart in a way. The problem is this thing is extensible. So like right now we're just dealing, like when this thing first came out, when they first released the first preview, probably November or whatever it was, there were 2 text actions and 1 image action, right? And if you look at the screenshot today, this is just text. How many actions you see? There's a bunch. eventually everything that can do anything with text is going to add something to this list. And we're going to get these giant context menus that are going to scroll off the edge of the screen, because that's how this works, right? This is the UI equivalent of like a COM component from the 1990s having public interfaces that software code can access programmatically to access the functionality that's inside of the thing, the object or whatever. Except that now what we're talking about is an AI. Well, it's I guess it's an app technically using definitely multiple models. It's doing an almost manual form of orchestration. It's letting you pick what you want. It picks the right model on the back end for that one feature, and then it does the thing, whatever it is. But the problem is we're all going to have, it's going to be a million of these things. Like if you have a Copilot Plus PC, you have over 40 models out of the box,
That's cool.
So
it's
nice. Cool, but it's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, this is, to my mind, the one. Well, that's not really true.
Also a reminder the models are not that important.
Yeah, that's true. This click to do is probably the biggest single useful AI feature in Windows / Copilot Plus PC, I would say. But it's going to get, it's going to get overloaded. So it's kind of a weird problem.
Let us pause.
Yes.
And then we shall continue on. But I have a sponsor that's just dying to meet you.
Okay.
In the words of Frankenfurter. Our show today brought to you by 1Password. You know that name. Of course you do. 1Password is great for individuals, but it should be in business too. And I'll tell you why. Survey says over half of IT pros say that securing SaaS apps is their biggest challenge. And I think a lot of that's probably AI, right? With the growing problems of SaaS sprawl and shadow IT, it's not hard to see why they're struggling with this. Well, there is a solution. Thankfully, Trelica, this is from 1Password, can discover and secure access to all your apps, whether they're managed or not. Trelica, Trelica, Trelica by 1Password. It's actually really cool. It inventories every app in use at your company, whether it's authorized or not, just every app in use. And then pre-populated app profiles, and they have them for everything. Assess the SaaS risks, letting you manage access, optimize spend, and enforce security best practices across every single app your employees use. It gives you a way to manage shadow IT, to securely onboard and offboard employees too, and meet compliance goals. Trelica by 1Password provides a complete solution for SaaS access governance. It's just one of the ways that extended access management helps teams strengthen compliance and security. 1Password's award-winning password manager, of course, that's the first place. That's the first step. It's trusted by more than a million users, millions of users, over 150,000 businesses from IBM to Slack. And now they're doing more than just securing passwords with 1Password Extended Access Management. 1Password is ISO 27001 certified with regular third-party audits and the industry's largest bug bounty. 1Password exceeds standards set by various authorities and is a leader in security. Take the first step to better security for your team by securing credentials and protecting every application, even unmanaged shadow IT. Learn more at 1password.com/Windows Weekly. That's 1password.com/Windows Weekly, and that's all lowercase. 1password.com/Windows Weekly. Thank you, 1Password, for supporting Windows Weekly and everything we do here at Twit. We appreciate what you do for our listeners. This next story kind of surprised me from Brave.
Right. Well, it makes sense when you consider the point of Brave, right? So Brave, like Signal, the private messaging app that our government uses so effectively, is by definition a privacy solution, right? Like a lot of the people who would choose Brave would do so because of the privacy and security
and it's
that
got
it provides out of the box.
On by default in most cases. Yeah.
So with, look, you could make a Venn diagram of the people who have and or will have a Copilot Plus PC, figure out recall, decide they want to use it, and then people who use Brave. And I think the gap between those two circles would be like the Grand Canyon. Like, I don't think there is any overlap.
They're not going to run into each other.
No, I don't think so. But okay, but let's pretend otherwise. I think it's okay for an app. Well, no, it's okay. It's okay for an app that is privacy focused to automatically elect to not support recall, right? To block it or hide it or hide the app from recall. This is a feature that is built into recall, actually, right? So in the case of Brave, because it's a browser, recall does not look at or record snapshot incognito or private browser windows. So Brave identifies itself as that all the time, and it won't be included in recall by default. You can enable it if you want to use it inside the Brave UI. I should mention this is in a coming update. So I think we're at version 1.80 and it will be in 1.81. So it could happen any second now. But yeah, there's all this, like, of course, the problem I have with this is only that it just brings up recall again. And then you get the same people, like, oh, this isn't safe. And it's the same nonsense over and over again. It's like, guys, relax. We get it. You don't have to use it. Just leave it alone. It's fine. It works fine. It's not going to hurt anybody. But yeah, I mean, the type of person who would use Brave, advocate for Brave, maybe, whatever, are the types of people who do not like recall and would want that, even though they're never going to turn it on anyway and probably don't have a computer that could use it as it is. But that's fine. It's fine. Like, I think this is fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. We're all fine. Yeah, we're fine. It's fine.
It's kind of a statement, though, about recall. I mean,
it isn't, though. That's the problem. like that's my problem. Is it?
Yeah.
No, my problem literally is it isn't. Like,
so is the window that is the browser going to be blacked out in recall? Is that just how it looks? Or?
Yeah, I would imagine so. I assume you don't see through it, like you don't see whatever's behind it. But yeah, it's just those snapshots are just screenshots, right? So it won't take screenshots of that window. So yes, I would imagine it's either going to be an empty hole or blacked out. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. You know, when Signal made this similar announcement a couple weeks ago, Signal, that's what they do. You know,
that makes sense for Signal. I guess
Totally.
I think a Brave is just a regular browser, but yeah, you're right. It's a privacy first
But if
browser.
any browser
Again,
was going to be the Brave browser.
This speaks to that audience. That's all I'm saying. Like, this is what those guys want to hear. You know, they're like, yeah, I told you so, Brad. You can't trust recall. Good for them. You know, it's like, relax. There's nothing wrong with recall, but this is them. You know, like, I don't expect Opera or Chrome or something to auto decide for you not to be part of recall, right? Because you can, as a user, go in and say, I don't ever want this app. And if you're doing like, some people would use Chrome, let's say, and do their normal browsing, and it's like, whatever. But then they want to visit a porn site or use their banking site or something that they don't want other people knowing about.
Fire up Brave.
They might use Brave, and that would be excluded from recall if that's on. But again, Venn diagram. I just want to keep bringing that one up.
A built-in feature in recall for like all incognito windows, or
yeah, that's on by default. Yeah. No,
but interesting. Well, then that explains it. If they're all incognito by default,
well, they're not actually all incognito. If I understand Brave correctly, but they will identify themselves as that to the system, so that recall does not.
That's how they do it. I get it.
That's fine. Fine. It's fine. We're all fine. We're fine. Yeah. If I said we're fine, we're fine.
We're fine.
How are you?
I don't know if I want to emphasize how fine we are. But like, this is the type of thing, like, there's all this commentary around this, and it's all by people who actually do not use Brave or use recall or ever would, but they all have strong opinions about it. And it's like, guys, it's fine. Same thing with WhatsApp. WhatsApp a couple of years ago announced, I'm going to call it native is kind of a strong term, but a UWP version of their app on Windows. They're getting rid of it. And yep. Okay. Oh, interesting. Then you might be, I'm curious of your opinion of this if or when you ever use this. They're getting rid of that and going with a PWA, which will still be in the store. It's available now in beta. I've installed it. I'm not a big WhatsApp fan, but I use it, and it's fine. It's fine.
I just like being able to use it from my PC, right? Like,
it looks exactly the same as the other one.
Sure.
The big difference, and this is a bizarre limitation to WhatsApp that I've never understood and I hate, is it relies on you having a single instance of the app on a phone, as one would, and then you do the QR code thing, and you associate that other app with the one that's on your phone. Like, they typically don't let you log into multiple instances of their app on multiple devices. Whereas, like, for me, this is a problem because I go back and forth between the iPhone and Android, and there's no way or no easy way, no way I found, to automatically keep like all the chats that are on the iPhone, get them on Android, get all those and put them on. Like there's no one cloud-based one list of chats. And I don't understand this. I don't understand why I can't go to, and because they have this limitation, when I pick up my Android phone, but I'm using the iPhone now, I can't even get into WhatsApp. I have to switch it over to that device. And it's like, guys, like what is, I don't understand this. So unfortunately, my understanding, I probably have used it once or twice, but I believe the UWP version of the app was a standalone instance of WhatsApp. It didn't require you to have, or didn't require a link between it and your phone-based app or whatever. The UWP version does. So, whatever. I don't do I use it. I actually am in WhatsApp every day, mostly because I'm in Mexico and they use it extensively here. But
that's how you get your tacos from Cafe Taco Bar.
Let me tell you something. Not only could you do that through WhatsApp, but you could then schedule a doctor's appointment and have him come back and show you the x-rays from earlier. And they use it.
I wish we had a standard like that in the US, like something everybody used.
I also, this is unrelated to anything, but the other big cross-platform problem I have is iMessage always screws everything up, no matter which direction I'm going in. And WhatsApp is, I don't like Facebook, Meta, whatever, but WhatsApp can now be used as a MMS, SMS app on iPhone.
Yeah.
I don't think yet on Android or ever. I don't know. I don't think it's on Android like that. But if that app actually let me go back and forth and did have all the chats and synced everything to the cloud and everything worked, I would just use that. That would be great. But
the only reason it doesn't is because Apple won't let it.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. No, I know. It's the same problem in both cases. So I don't know. Maybe regulators out there someday will get that fixed. I don't know. But today it stinks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm jealous. In Japan they have, Line, and in China they have WeChat. Here we have X.com, the everything app.
Here we have green bubbles and blue bubbles, and never the twain shall meet.
Never the two.
I feel like we're a second-class citizens up here. I don't know. In Canada, is there a standard? Most of the rest of the world, WhatsApp is standard, but not in Canada.
No, it's totally regional, man.
It's
you can't even see most of the rest of the world as WhatsApp either. Like I've gone to places where Viper was it. That's what they
amazing.
Use,
But Brazil, WhatsApp's huge. Mexico, it's huge. I know we used it when we were in Mexico. The hotel said,
it's all
add us to WhatsApp. Yeah.
Yep. I just was sitting at a bar last night and some guy added me to WhatsApp. It's amazing.
Love that. I feel like we need a central place for that.
The key to being a second-class society, Leo, is that you think you're the greatest country on earth and you're completely oblivious to the fact that the rest of the planet has bypassed you a decade ago.
I have a different context.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
My point of view is we invented this stuff. And it's always the case, like with cell phones, that when you were the first, you have a huge amount of legacy. So it's very difficult for you to do the thing that 10 years or 20 years later evolved to be the right thing. Because you've got all this legacy. It happened with cell phone, happened with messaging, happens with train gauges. I don't know what I feel like it happens with a lot of things.
The habit/tradition problem.
You do legacy is always the problem.
Same way for so long.
Yeah.
That if you actually came back and said, why do we do this? No one could answer that question. You're like, well, we've always done it this way.
Right.
Well, actually, no, we haven't. But why are we doing it this way?
How could we get like a national campaign? Would Signal, if we all decided to use Signal, that'd probably be a good choice, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
secure messaging.
Security people
it's
want.
Not owned by Meta. Yeah.
Yep.
It has the features. Does it have all the features? People, I think, like Telegram because it has stickers and stuff.
Yeah. There's more restricted on the features on Signal, but it's
what kind of? Am I missing something? I need text, and sometimes I like to send a photo. Can we just end it there?
You're not what we call.
I don't need exploding fireworks every time someone does something fun. I don't need a clown to bounce across the screen. Like, I just want to communicate.
Maybe we should have something for people over 50 and under 50.
Yeah, it's going to be called AARP.app. And
that's who should do this.
72-point type.
AARP.
It's going to yell it at you. It's like, hey, your son called. Call back.
Call your mother.
And you got to hear that everywhere in the restaurant because it's like happy hour and they're the only people in there are like 80, because it's
when Telegram first came out, I kind of took a one-man campaign to get everybody to use it. Of course, it failed miserably. Now that I know how bad Telegram is in many ways, including security, I wouldn't. But I like the features.
My kids are in year 5 of a campaign to convince my wife to get an iPhone so she can be the right color bubble.
Oh, she's Android?
And they've
She's
just
the
gone
only one
after
in the family.
Well, I go back and forth.
Yeah, you use both.
She's
That's
Samsung.
fair.
She's all Samsung, and could not care less. She's
I
not
just ordered the
passionate
new,
about Samsung. She just does not care.
Yeah, she doesn't care. That's who uses Samsung. People who don't care.
Right. It's like when you buy a car at Costco. It's like why did you pick this? It was the one they had.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a Chevy. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's just a car.
Like
it's got 4 wheels. It's a car.
It gets me there. I mean, it's in the shop a lot, but Costco.
I just bought I probably fell for it, but I bought the new Fold because it looks
looks
pretty
beautiful.
interesting.
Honestly, it looks gorgeous. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just kind of want to get a sense of, what
I think
I've had the early ones, but I wanted to get a sense of where they've gone with it.
So expensive. It's like so
Well,
expensive.
they're pretty good on trade-ins if you pre-order.
Pretty
This is
good,
your
but it's
last
still-
day to pre-order.
The best phone I have is for trade-in is an iPhone, whatever the newest Pro Max is.
Yeah.
And it's still like $1,500, like it's not inexpensive. It's
I got through Google Fi and I got it down to I think $1,200. But it's still expensive. Yeah.
the little one or the big one.
The big one. But I have a trade-in. I have the most recent Flip.
So I tried that too. The problem with Fi is you can't trade in a current gen device of any kind. So
No,
my
you have
iPhone,
to.
my
You have
iPhone
to.
16, whatever, will not work.
Because they want you to replace your old phone with the Fi phone. In fact, you have to use it for 120 days to get the discount.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will be replacing my Google Pixel 9 with a Samsung Galaxy Fold.
Okay. Yeah. I can't remember, but I want to say I could have done that as well. It was like $380 maybe. Like it's not
great.
It's not great.
It's
They're
pricey as
expensive.
hell.
It's expensive. Yeah.
Well, I'm writing it off. It's kind of a business expense. I need to use it to see.
I hear you. I'm ready, but I guess I'm not that ready because I was like 2000.
Well, get Stephanie to do it. She's Miss Samsung.
Have you met my wife? She is
Get her to do it. That's so
first of all,
funny.
get her to do it is hilarious.
Hilarious.
B, it's $2,000.
Yeah. No.
I mentioned this to her, and she is interested in folding phones, and she was like, "Yeah, right." Like she would never make that decision.
You know why I love my wife? It's a love-hate thing, but because she makes me buy the newest ones.
Oh,
There you go.
that's okay. See,
She says no. I said I don't
job.
want to buy the new iPhone. She said
See,
no. You have to. It's
our
your
roles
job.
are flipped. Like I would. Even I'm not stupid enough to try to bring this one up. Like I could make a case for it, I guess, but she'd be like, "Yeah, you're not doing that."
I actively don't want to get the new phone. I feel like, oh, God, I can't. Can I just be normal?
I know,
but no, she won't let me be normal.
Someday we will be normal people, or we'll be dead. I don't know, but But for now, you have to kind of keep up. It's.
I want to buy the AARP phone. It's in the back of the magazine.
It's actually all it is
With
like a
big
first gen.
buttons.
It's a first gen iPad.
Yeah.
And it has like a radio thing. Just,
And
glued on
it
the
takes
back.
pictures,
And
Paul.
he
It
holds up to
takes
his-
pictures.
You're like, what do you say? Bring it down. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Can anyone else hear this? Yeah, we can all hear it, Grandpa. I'm on the
I'm
cusp of
so
that.
close. You're not. I am cuspier than you are.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I got to tell you, I had a chat with a mom here in Madeira Park whose son has gotten rid of his iPhone for a flip phone.
Interesting.
Like because the iPhone's hurting him, and he just wants
hurting.
I think that's the next
mental
big
health,
thing. Is
yeah.
the reaction to big tech. It's like the knee-jerk opposite reaction to big tech.
Yeah.
Well,
and these kids are getting it. They just, I know you want to be able to reach me, Mom, so I need a phone, but this one.
Okay. Actually, you know what? I actually do respect that. I don't think that's a solution for everybody. All right. I think there's some portion of people who actually do have the self-will or whatever it is to, minimize what's on their screen and turn off the notifications and they can do that. But that's like saying there are some people who can drink and maybe they overdrink sometimes, but they're okay. But some people, they actually just need to walk away. And
it's like going on a diet. It's like,
yeah,
I could do it for a little while.
It depends on the person, right? I mean, some people have self-control is not fair because it makes it seem like the other person's lacking in some way. But if you have a whatever mental health condition and you literally can't, then yes. I mean, I would say in that case, getting a flip phone maybe is the right choice, for mental health wise, right?
Yeah, and you can get them. They still text. They make phone calls.
Well, that's the thing. It sounds
they have
like
maps. Some
they
of them
acknowledge that human beings still need to get in touch with me.
Yeah,
so that's fine. They can send that K text we talked about last week. No problem. That's easy. Yep, it's not for me, but I get it. I'm not
something
I'm not going to make fun
like
of that.
this. This is the Mudita Compact, $439. It's an e-ink phone. It comes in 3 colors: gray, black, or less gray.
It comes in any color you want as long as it's the one you sell.
Less gray.
And it has,
To me, I don't know about this, because you could kind of do this to an existing phone and still get the benefit of the phone, but it.
This is a little bit more. It'll play your music.
You can read.
You can. It'll do maps.
You're probably not going to do a lot of
black
YouTube
and white
video, but because that would be terrible. But
I'm sure because it's e-ink, it's got great battery life.
Yep.
It's that's.
It's a bridge too far for me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should do this just to see. Like be a experiment.
A guinea pig for this? Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not. Don't get you. I'm not.
Look, it's important. Look, I have an Apple weather widget on my iPhone home screen. It's big, and it says the weather, and it has nothing to do with what's going on outside. I don't even. It's just like a comedy routine. Like I don't know what it's doing. It's like random weather or something.
Has weather gotten worse? I feel like I thought it was just Petaluma. It says it's going to be 85 degrees and it's 62. It doesn't have anything to do with reality.
I have a screenshot of this. So we were standing in the middle of the hardest rainfall I've ever seen, lightning and thunder all over Mexico City. This has never happened before in history. And this thing is like partly cloudy. I'm like, yeah, close.
Almost.
Maybe you think the lightning that keeps happening is the sun, but it's not. The Apple one's terrible. I don't know why.
I've tried every weather app. I'm using something called Windy right now.
Nice.
Surfers like
it's
it.
It's the first, when you learn a programming language now, if you went to college and learned to program, which maybe would not be a great idea today, but building a weather app is like the second or third project. It's like one of the first, so it's the back end data. I guess that's horrible.
I guess that's what's wrong. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract.
Nope.
On we go with the show.
Yes. Just one hardware related thing. This was supposed to happen a couple of months ago, and this ties into that thing you were asking about the Snapdragon Dev Kit. Like, what am I doing with that? My goal for that was to use it as the podcast machine that I have at home in my home office.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet because these drivers were coming and had never arrived, and now they're here. So Focusrite, in collaboration with Qualcomm, has released drivers for basically their entire product line. So this is like when I talked to Qualcomm, January doesn't sound right, but it was before Mexico. I don't remember. Maybe it was late last year, but this was the final frontier for major hardware compatibility issues. These USB audio devices, these interfaces, right? And so their plan was early in this year to solve that problem. And this is the first major step because Focusrite obviously is one of the big players in this market. And they're still in beta, but it's like I was going back and forth with Qualcomm, and every time I was in Mexico, they're like, all right, we're ready to release them. I'm like, I don't have that computer here. I don't have that device here, rather. They're like, okay. And then I got back home, I'm like, all right, I'm here. I got everything. I'm like, yeah, we're not ready. Sorry. It's been and then I go back to Mexico, like, all right, we're ready again. I'm like, all right, seriously. But when I get home, I will be using that dev device in my home office, and that will be the device I do this on. So
cool.
Fingers crossed. I think it's going to be fun.
Is that the last hardware compatibility? I mean, is there a lot of?
So there might be other small ones. I mean, there might be like individual printers here and there, that kind of thing. And obviously the driver, not the drivers, but the utilities associated with that stuff. But as far as like a major, what do we call this? Like a hardware product category. This was the big one for 2025. They're like, we have to solve this. Like this is, there are people who are creators. They're on the go. They want to use they want to use a laptop that lasts forever and has good performance, but they also need this interface to do the work they do, and they can't do it. And now they can. So yeah, to me, this is the big one. There were two. Well, maybe it was one. One or two software issues I had. Both were solved pretty quick. I know Google Drive was one. And there was one major hardware one, and it was this. And now that's been solved too. So it's good.
Fantastic.
Also, I'd like to announce that Windows Weekly will become Linux Weekly next week because
It's time. Finally.
It is the year of the Linux desktop, certainly the year of the Linux podcast. But I saw this headline and I had kind of set it aside. And I realized after I looked at it more closely, there was a big caveat, which is that Linux has, it's actually usage share, but StatCounter calls it market share, but 5% usage share in the United States. Worldwide, it's like 4.04 or maybe 4.08.
Wow, it's more in the US.
magic number is 10, right? Like if you get to 10, things start to change.
Well, if you include Android and Chromebook,
but we don't.
No.
but those are both Linux.
Well, they're based on, that's like, I mean, yeah, they're based on Linux, but I would argue that both of those things are successful in part because they are not Linux, right? That they
have their own systems.
Yeah. So I was instantly transported back in time to 1997 when Steve Jobs got on stage in Boston. Bill Gates' giant head came out and he said, Bill, between the two of us, we have 100% of the personal computing market, which was true. Asterisk. Apple had 5% of the market at that time.
Right.
So to give you, this may be the most, well, there's two big problems for Linux. One is that if you look at Apple and what they've done since then, I would say that companies kind of going gangbusters, right? We can all agree. We've all seen Macs out in the world. They're on planes or schools. They're everywhere. That product has 9% market share today. Like they really have not exploded at like 40% or something. They're not there. Linux is going to have a much harder time getting anywhere close to that. And part of the problem, that's the second problem, is there's no single guiding strategy or voice or standards organization for Linux, right? There are thousands of distributions. Even if you look at Ubuntu has roughly 20% of the Linux market on desktop.
About 5%.
So I don't know what 20% of 5% is. 1%. It's small.
That would be 1%.
It has 13 or 15 flavors, types of, the different UIs, different display technologies, all kinds of different things, different focuses, obviously. But it's bifurcated is not the right word. We need a word that's that, but like times 1,000. It's like
fragmented.
There you go. We have that word, and it's a basic word, Paul, and you're a writer. Okay, so fragmented, perfect. So I think that's kind of the headwind. Like it doesn't matter in IoT. It doesn't matter in the cloud. It doesn't matter in servers, right? Like these things are basically doing background processing. They're using a very small part of Linux, I would imagine. But Linux on the desktop, it's absolutely matured dramatically. There's really good distributions for normal people, but this, no one would even know where to start when something went wrong. We can't figure out problems in Windows. Like how on earth is my mother, my brother, a normal human being, whatever.
Dude, it's going to be an AI. Linux AI coming.
Oh, yeah. Is there a single big Linux AI coming I don't know about? Which is, part of the problem, right? Like
the one that's going to tell you, just read the manual.
and literally with a swear word in it. Yeah, exactly. And that community is so open and welcoming to normal people. I mean, they love questions. They love to help. They love, people who don't understand these esoteric topics. So
it'll be great.
It's going to be,
well, if you guys just wouldn't be so stupid, then we could talk.
Fair enough.
Right?
Yep. I didn't know the word fragmented, Leo. What do you expect? I
am toying with a new distro that's all the rage called Cachy OS, Cachy OS.
Cachy with a C. I've not heard of this.
Well, it's pretty new. It's based on Arch, which is nice because that's a rolling distro, so you don't ever have to upgrade the distribution. You're always going to have.
How do you feel about immutable Linuxes? Do you like that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
like stablecoin only
or
different.
NixOS. Well, actually, NixOS is functional. That's
see, I say words like
it is very fragmented because it's different strokes for different folks, right? The interesting thing about Cachy is it's optimized for modern hardware and speed.
But I think Microsoft makes a compelling case. One product works for everyone, and it works great. So what's the problem?
Yeah, a good point. Actually, Microsoft's getting pretty fragmented lately, isn't it?
Yes, they are.
Well, in a way.
Well, by the way, we're gonna talk about that next. So don't worry.
I think I mean, look, it's clearly Linux is for enthusiasts.
Yeah. Here's a little fact. A fact that people probably either don't know or forget, or kind of just will be kind of blown away by in general. Linux has been around for over 30 years.
Since 92.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Linus Torvalds invented Linux.
I mean, do you have any idea how many things have come and gone since then?
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
Beanie Babies.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Beanie Babies.
Well, okay. Oh, yeah. Celine Dion.
Tickle Me Elmo.
Yeah, the whole grunge movement.
Celine Dion is still with us. Do not.
Is she? Is she?
I don't know.
Animatronics.
Probably is, yeah.
Barney.
Yeah, I mean, I think Linux has staying power. You're using it all the time. Every website.
But the key to using it every time or all the time is that we don't know we are.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's true.
It's the fluoride in the water, Leo. It's that thing, you know.
And like fluoride, fill in whatever you want after that.
Where are you going?
Depends how you feel about fluoride, I guess.
I mean, if your goal was to have British teeth, then we're going in the right direction. I don't know.
They say the dentists in Washington State can always tell when one of their patients is from Oregon because they didn't have fluoride.
Right. Change teeth.
One thing I've witnessed with my own children, and so I grew up in whatever age I grew up in, and when I got every one of my teeth that can have fillings has fillings, right? So in the beginning, these were like silver fillings, and then as I became an adult, at some point they were like, "Hey, you have to replace these over time. They fall out, whatever happens."
Yeah,
and they replaced.
Or they're mercury. I have mercury fillings still.
Yeah, I don't.
That's what amalgam is.
I don't think I had. Well, okay, I don't
Amalgam
remember.
Is
but
literally an amalgam of silver and mercury.
I have a handful. I remember when I was a kid going to the dentist, and he said, look at this. This is fun." And he had little balls of mercury on the tray, and he was playing with it. Isn't that cool? We're going to put that in your teeth.
Yeah, he's in a home now, and he can't think clearly.
They call him the mad dentist.
Yeah, that's not good. But
Isn't
my
that
kids,
funny? I mean, that's how it's
up,
changed.
My kids don't have cavities. Like
I know.
Yeah.
I have as many cavities as I have teeth. My kids have zero cavities.
Yeah,
and that's why.
Fluoride.
Like fluoride. Mm-hmm. Like, sorry, but you have any idea how much money that saved me? I mean, it's incredible.
There's a genetics equation here too. You know, like
but they got his genes. Don't forget, Richard.
Yeah, they were screwed from the get-go.
Yeah.
I have very straight teeth, and the kid's mom has very soft teeth. And they got both kids got her teeth, not mine.
Oh.
Yeah. No, I had one where the dentist is like, there's no money there, and then the other one is like, you're gonna pay.
Go mine, mine.
My dentist, who I referred to lovingly as Dr. Mengele, had to pull out
for
my teeth.
Is it safe, Paul? Is it safe?
He was not. This guy was old school. He went to school probably in the 60s and stopped learning at that point. So like when he took out my wisdom teeth so I could get braces, he literally had to stand with his feet on the arms of the chair I was in, and with a plier, pulling with all of his body.
Nurse, give me some leverage, nurse.
Tooth to come out of my jaw. And
every tooth falling apart except the one you wanted to get out.
Yeah,
it's awful.
It was unbelievable. And then I bled for almost all of a week, and I got to the point where like we were going to have to go to the hospital to figure this out, and then it finally stopped. But I had to stay awake that whole weekend, and like it was unbelievable. I miss those days. The good old days. Anyway, that's what using AI is like.
Moving right along to Surface and the Copilot Plus PC.
Yeah. So last year, Microsoft introduced this Copilot Plus PC thing, which I think is at the heart of a lot of problems we're seeing in Windows today. So I mentioned the weirdness of monthly updates and for Copilot Plus PC only, but only for Snapdragon because they went to market with Snapdragon first, and clearly there's something there, like a agreement of some kind. It's bizarre. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love those computers, but I discovered very quickly, and then have verified this over time, that you buy one of these things, whether it's AMD, Intel, Snapdragon, for the improved reliability, the better performance, the efficiency, the instant on performance, like all that stuff. Like it's, especially on Snapdragon, it's much better on Snapdragon. But the AI stuff they were selling was always pretty terrible. If you flash forward, it's been over a year, I mentioned click to do, kind of the marquee feature. There's a couple little individual photos, like or features rather. The Photos app in particular has some pretty good AI, kind of AI features, like the thing I mentioned today is coming soon, the relight feature. But the problem is this creates another kind of bifurcation, if you will, where for a long time we've had different like product editions or SKUs of Windows, and each with its own set of capabilities. We went off the rails a bit. Remember, Vista especially, but also 7 had multiple, home, it was like Home Basic, Home Premium, Ultimate, Pro, there was all these different versions, and there's still are, but in the consumer market, it's like Home and Pro, and it's like, okay, like kind of an artificial delineation of features, whatever. I would say that the benefit of Pro has gotten a lot smaller than it originally was, but there are some things like BitLocker support, like the ability to create BitLocker encrypted disks and USB keys and so forth is part of Pro. That's, it's good. Hyper-V, et cetera, et cetera. But, Copilot Plus PC creates like more of that problem, right? And we just keep saying this. Even if you get a Copilot Plus PC, I mean, most people are probably getting an Intel or AMD chip because that's what most people buy. Mm-hmm. They're not getting the features right away. Like they'll come later. No. And it's this bizarre mess of like, it just contributes to the problem of you never know what you're going to see on any given computer when you open the laptop later to walk up to it, whatever it is. And here in Mexico, I have several computers at home. I have many more, but it's the same thing. I go from like this PC in front of me has the new start menu. It's fun. Yeah. It's bizarre. Like it's bizarre.
Yeah.
And I just, you can, if you know about the history of MPUs and how that kind of stuff happened, it came out of this notion on mobile that we needed a way to overcome the limitations of the chips and the sensor sizes and cameras and other issues so that we could do things like computational photography with this tiny lens, take a crappy photo and then turn it into a good photo using, what we now call AI. But Pixel did this, Google did this with Pixel. Microsoft did this on ARM-based computers very early. Windows Studio Effects is this exact thing. It runs on the NPU. Apple has been talking up machine learning. Now they use AI, obviously, but ever since, 15 years, I mean, it's been a long time. And then, and I think it makes sense in those cases. The problem on the PC is that most of us are connected to the internet all the time. We can access AI. We also have computers that have GPUs that could do this, and they artificially limit it to MPUs for some reason.
Yeah,
and
so far anyway.
Yeah. Well, we keep looking for that moment where they're going to stop doing that. And the orchestration thing.
That moment where they want more customers?
Yeah. That's the thing. It's what they're doing now is contrary to, I think, the Windows team's broader aims, the broader aims of that ecosystem, the broader aims of Microsoft, which is to push AI. It should be available to all of your customers everywhere if they want it. And this just creates a kind of a world of have and have nots. And the people who have it, most of that stuff is not particularly interesting. And that's the problem. There's I'm going to get the names wrong because I always forget which is which, but in the Paint app, there is an image creator that uses the cloud. And if you have AI credits and Microsoft account with a Copilot license of some kind, it creates images. It's as good as that thing can be. It's Designer. And then there's a co-creator. That's a Copilot Plus PC feature. I might have mixed the names up. It doesn't matter. But that works on device. And that creates kindergarten drawings of nonsense. It's terrible. So, and that's the problem. So for these big bucket things, on-device AI is not very good. It's good for like individual features, like the object selection tool in Affinity Photo. If you want to enable that, you have to download a model. It runs locally. And I guess it's pretty good. I guess it's not, whatever. Here's the thing. It runs on the CPU. Doesn't even use it. It doesn't use a GPU. If you have a GPU, it just runs on the CPU.
Yeah.
And
there's no reason.
There's no reason for this. This is so stupid. And I think we talked about this last week, the notion that Windows is at its heart an orchestrator, and it doles out hardware resources. It also takes requests from apps or whatever services, whatever, and throws them against the correct devices. It should do that for this.
It should be the perfect hub for this.
This is how you go to market with it. I don't understand it. Yep. Years later, it still does not do that.
And we said this right off the bat. When Stevie Batish finished, we talked about this.
Yes.
Said Windows should be the hub of this. It totally makes sense.
He literally
Have you
said
seen those people.
Windows is an orchestrator. He said that at the time. So this is not a challenge, but here's a little project for anyone listening and watching. If you want to do this, Stevie Batish 2 years ago at Build did that famous talk where he talked about the 3 app types or app.
B-side, inside, outside.
Yeah. Copilot being the side-by-side version, which is exactly how you get something into the system when you have all these legacy apps, because it takes a long time to redo them or add it to the app or whatever, or rewrite them, God help you. So you have Word maybe, and you get this thing over on the side that's Copilot. It's side-by-side. It makes sense. It's fine. 1 year ago, he made a really compelling case for the MPU. And the numbers sound super exaggerated, but the sheer amount of efficiency, like the even just raw kind of processing power for certain types of tasks, like these matrices of whatever that MPUs are really good at. That's kind of a basis for a lot of AI stuff. Super optimized for that. Okay, great. What did he talk about this year? Can anyone tell me? I couldn't find anything. So I have seen references in articles to a presentation that he gave where he did talk about AI and whatever, and this is not on the Build site that I could find. So if anyone can point me to one of those things, I'd love to see it, because I feel like this guy cut through the cruft a little bit and then made this clear, and in a way that no one else has for me anyway. And I would love to know where we're at with this stuff, because there is no excuse in Windows if you think about it from the perspective of the Windows team, their best customers as individuals, not businesses, but people, are those who spend a lot of money on a premium PC, especially a gaming PC, that's going to have a dedicated graphics card, that's going to cost a lot of money. They invested in, they should expect the best possible experience across the board. And they're just being ignored right now.
Yeah.
And I will never understand this.
This Intel machine I just built, the 5080 is more expensive than every other component in the machine.
I have at home it's an HP, not that that matters, but I think it's a 35 or 32 inch all-in-one, gorgeous. It has a first gen Meteor Lake Core Ultra processor. Doesn't meet the Copilot Plus PC spec, but it also has dedicated graphics, which are great. And so even though this is only Meteor Lake and it has a giant screen, it can play Call of Duty at like huge frame rates, awesome quality graphics, fantastic. Cannot use Co-Creator and Paint, that stupid little hand painting thing that isn't even good enough to put on my refrigerator if it was my child, but it could, and it probably, I don't know off the top of my head, but the graphics card in that thing is probably 10 times as powerful from a TOPS perspective as whatever MPU you could get today in a laptop. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we'll talk about Richard's 5080 and the rest of that PC tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, when Richard builds his PC in the club. Yeah, we'll stream that live, but that'll be a lot of fun. I'll be kibitzing in the background.
So, when did this happen? Yeah, early in the show, I mentioned on, it was Tuesday, yesterday, Microsoft had 3 announcements that all came out side by side related to Windows in some way. The first one was that thing I had to figure out they were talking about, the Week D preview update. It took a while, but I was like, oh, that's what they mean. Because, Microsoft, they can't communicate. The second one is a hardware thing we're going to talk about next. The third one, though, this is just amazing. This blows my mind, was a blog post that I sort of read the beginning of, and I was like, what is this? And then I just skipped until today. And it is called Understanding What AI Means to Consumers. So here's the thing. Microsoft has failed with consumers. Microsoft is failing in AI. So who better than Microsoft to tell us what consumers want from AI than Microsoft? Yeah. Okay. So I decided today I was going to write this thing up. And then I actually read it. And I was like, I'm just going to have fun with this because this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. They engaged with a third party, which is called Edelman Data and Intelligence, which is a part of Edelman, which is a PR firm that Microsoft has used for approximately 20 years. Yeah. I just want to say they created a study that Microsoft commissioned it. Just to be super clear about this, it's not a problem that a company commissions a study from a third party to make a point. I don't have a problem with that. I will even accept that the data is real and that there are facts in this thing. That's not my point. But the negative part of doing this is that entity, Microsoft in this case, that commissioned the study, can also go to them and say, not lie, not add this, but rather, I don't want that, I don't want that, and I don't want that. And they can tell them to take things out, which is what happens. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it happened here, but I am saying most likely that a big part of this study involved the AIs that those people they surveyed were using, and that didn't look good for Microsoft, and that's not there anymore. So this thing just talks about AI in general. I don't know who invented this term, but if hell exists, they will be there for the rest of eternity. They have coined the term Generation AI, which most of us would call Generation Z, I think. Yikes. People born between 95 and 2012. They grew up in a world where increasingly relying on digital tools. They learn to embrace emerging technologies. I would make the argument that makes me part of Generation Video Game, but whatever. These are apparently the frailest people on earth. They are the least greatest generation. They don't like negative feedback. They don't like facts. They don't like to read. They overthink things. But they also underthink things, right? And this study is the dumbest collection of words I may have ever read in my entire life. Like it is.
I don't know. There's some losers out there.
I know. Okay. That's why I say might. I'm not 100% sure. I tend to block things out. But like, I wrote what I think to be an incredibly funny article about this. But I will just like, there's all these terms in there. It's like, Generation AI has emotional delicacy. They need to be pampered in ways that their predecessors do not. Like, so AI is like a conversational advisor, someone who's not going to like crap all over their stupid ideas. Those are my words. We'll just like coddle them into like, and it's like what they like about AI is that there's no negative feedback. They're always like, yeah, and buried in this report, right at the end, it says only 15% of all consumers say they fully trust AI when making important decisions. Oh boy.
So 15% are wrong. Well,
if you accept the fact that Generation AI is a thing, I believe the figure for them is 65% think it's fantastic. Right. So these are our dumbest people. They've grown up in an age of misinformation and stupidity and not reading, and they don't have time to read, Richard. They're busy. They're busy people. Yeah. They've got no jobs, but lots of side hustles, and they,
and all knowledge comes in the form
apparently of YouTube is all they need. I don't have time for a YouTube short. Just tell me what it's doing. Just tell me, give me a summary. So I'm sorry, Microsoft, but you have lost consumers 20 years ago. One of the things I went back to 2005, so 20 years ago, and I looked at the things I was writing about that year, specifically Microsoft related. And let me see if I can find this thing, because this is crazy. Maybe this is the wrong article, but sorry, there was a different article, but it was just full of things like Windows Media Center XP 2005 roll up 2, or like
community
Microsoft Digital Image Suite, all these things. And it's like, this stuff is all gone, like nobody's using this stuff. So the fact that this generation is able to make this shift easily is great. But the fact is, from a consumer perspective, obviously Microsoft has a lock for now on the business market. The web, mobile, to a small degree, these Alexa type assistants and things like that. The whole world has moved on from you. And unfortunately, we talked about this last week. They've done that already with AI. So yeah, if AI is the next wave, I got a bad news for you. You just missed it, because ChatGPT is that Kleenex brand that everyone thinks of. And it's just going gangbusters. And for Microsoft, maybe the least qualified of all companies to talk about what people are doing, like what consumers are doing with AI. I can tell you what they're not doing with AI is using your stuff. And that is a problem. But that's a problem we talked about last week. Anyway. The third of the 3 announcements I mentioned was related to a new Surface laptop for business that has 5G.
So there is a new Surface.
So it's the same form factor as what are we calling this 13-inch Surface laptop from a couple of months ago?
Yeah.
That device.
Was it the 4 or the 9?
No, they don't use those. No. It's important every generation that they change how they name things.
Change
So
the numbering strategies. Right?
yeah, last year we had Surface Laptop 7th generation,
Right.
Surface Pro, I think 11th generation. Those are both Snapdragon X Elite, and Plus. There were options for Plus at the time.
So this is basically a 7.
Yeah. So the smaller versions that they released for consumers about 2 months ago are both lower end Snapdragon chips, slightly smaller screens and form factors, obviously. Other differences related to the size change, but that was the fundamental difference. This is the form factor of that smaller Surface Laptop 7. They don't call it that, but that with 5G, cool. It's in the name. For business, also in the name. But running Intel inside, so not in the name. Why? I don't know. Probably, I guess businesses might demand it or something, but you want to take this thing that gets 18 hours of battery life and turn it into a smoldering hunk of uselessness. Put a Core Ultra 2 chipset in it, and dear God. So to me, 5G is something you marry very naturally to an ARM device. I don't understand not doing that. So this is the second year in a row, that they've released versions of devices for business that use like the crappiest Intel processor imaginable. Oh God, thank God for Microsoft, because it wasn't for them, Intel might have imploded by now. Well, that's not true. Actually, they have such long-term relationships and a lot of payoffs that company, Lenovo, HP, Dell, all those companies, are still using Intel for some reason. We were talking about the Microsoft layoffs, actually every episode since they happened. Intel has begun layoffs. They said this was coming. It was going to come in July. It has happened.
This is the new CEO doing his thing.
Yeah. And, he's, to his credit, I mean, he's been clear about what has to happen. They've been dropping businesses that aren't important to them, aren't core to them. They got rid of their Linux distribution. In this case, absolutely. So the problem is that these job cuts have been much deeper than expected, and that's true of a bunch of different areas, including Oregon, California in particular, but also Arizona and Texas. And there are more coming. So this isn't the end of it. So not only did they come up with more than expected, but they also are going to do more. Of course they're coming.
Didn't Lip-Bu Tan, the new CEO, also say, we're not even in the top 10 of chip companies?
Yeah. So he meant
That's really depressing.
Saying the truth. I mean, appreciate truth.
Is it really true? It's come
on.
Well,
so I think the context of that, he did say that. I believe what he meant by that was from a fabrication manufacturing process perspective. But
did they hire this guy to wind it down? They fired Gelsinger.
Right. So when he first took over, it seemed like what they were doing was what Gelsinger was already doing. But I think what happened with Gelsinger was he was making big, expensive bets, especially in the manufacturing side. Tens of billions of dollars every time they were doing anything out in the world with manufacturing.
Well, and they were getting billions of dollars from the federal government, the CHIPS Act. I don't know.
Which, by the way, might have been cut off since then.
Might be gone now. Yeah.
Yep. This person and look, it's fair to say the board of directors looked at this and said, look, this isn't going to work, or this is not working, whatever the deal was. And the approach now is to make Intel a smaller, leaner company. We, more agile is the more polite way to say that. Oh, no, we're not losing. We're becoming more agile,
What are they going to do though? They're not making
I guess you could cut your legs off and lose weight that way, but it's. So we'll see. I mean, look,
that's so sad. It's so
on some
horrible.
level, I do want Intel to succeed. I think
we need them to succeed. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or we just need to move to ARM.
It's just going to be It's going to be a different form factor. I would be very interested in buying an Intel chip manufactured by TSMC. Get out of your own.
Well, you can. There are some of those, or at least partially manufactured by TSMC.
Unfortunately, Apple has pretty much sewed up most of the TSMC production.
Well, I mean, they're building more capacity and a bunch in the US. I mean, so
they say now that they want to make 3 nanometer and 2 nanometer chips.
Yeah, it's like we want to do manufacturing in the United States, and it's like, great. The only company that's taking advantage of that at scale is from Taiwan. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Well, it's in the US.
It is in the US
skill set. Right?
This is the argument, like Honda builds U.S. market cars in the United States. So is it an American car? Is it a Japanese car? My father-in-law would be like, yeah, but all the profits are going back to Japan, It's like, okay. But it's a good car, right? Like we can agree it's a good car.
Yeah, but all the profits are going back to Japan.
Yeah. Well, in this world, that's not true, right? A lot of profits are going back to Ireland, or whatever. I mean, depending on the company and the time frame.
Yeah.
So anyway,
tax strategy.
Yeah. I'd like to, I hope, I don't know why I hope this. I do sort of hope that they can pull it out and be okay.
Because competition is good. That's why.
Yeah. But it just might be, the bottom line is the existing structure isn't working.
Problem is, ARM and Snapdragon especially, but also AMD's been kind of kicking ass. Like their stuff is awesome.
I don't mind if AMD wants to take over for Intel, but they're a fraction of Intel's size. They're not a big company.
They're still, but you know what? That gap is changing or shrinking, but not because of PCs, right? So when AMD gains ground on Intel financially, it's almost exclusively because of the cloud, right? The data centers, AI data centers, et cetera. But yeah, in the PC space, it's not, by the way, it's not like half, it's like 1/8 or something. It's like really,
it's teensy.
It's a big, it's a big difference.
Well, you bought a Ryzen 9, Richard, I know. And
I got one of each. I got the Ultra 9 and I got the Ryzen 9.
Yeah. And I got, if I ever see it, the AI Plus. I don't know if they're ever to ship it.
Oh, you're talking about that awesome,
the system, the framework. But I don't even think AMD is even shipping the chip yet. So I think we're way off.
But you were looking at like next quarter anyway, right?
They said Q3 this quarter.
Q3, okay.
But I don't think so.
Those things seem like they are.
That's all right. I ordered an AI pin in April of 2024, and it still hasn't arrived. They say Q3 though.
Well, you have one that arrived, and now they're owned by Amazon.
Yeah.
What's your problem, man?
What's your problem? I got no problems because I am watching Windows Weekly, and that makes me a winner in my book. We do this show every Wednesday about 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC, and you can watch us do it live if you're in the club, of course, Club Twit Discord, but also YouTube, Twitch, X.com, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Paul's favorite streaming site, Kick. Watch it live or get it after the fact at wherever you get your podcasts. Now, as if we haven't had enough AI and security, it's time for AI and security. Hey, Paul, what's going on with AI and security?
Yeah, and security. Yeah, so this one's just AI, but I alluded to this earlier. Maybe I should have ordered these a little differently, but we keep getting these indications that Copilot is not doing great, and I feel like with Microsoft, and we've seen this before, everyone is familiar with this notion. What do you call it when you do the same thing over and over again and you expect different results? Is insanity, right? So what do you do when you do the same thing over and over again, and then one time it's different and stops working, right? Like that's what happens to Microsoft. It's what's happened to Apple. Like that explains Apple intelligence, right? We will do everything we can in-house. We will get rid of all external partners. We can't do AI. Oh shit. Oh, sorry. But sorry about that. Microsoft was like Windows gangbusters. Great. We're going to do everything like Windows. We're going to license to third-party hardware manufacturers. We're going to do this, whatever. And, they see certain amounts of success and then they don't, it stops working. They did that with bundling, right? With Office. That still would work if it wasn't for antitrust regulation. Like they put Teams into Office Smart. Well, Microsoft 365 Smart. That means you're already paying for it. Most businesses are just going to use that thing. Smart. Slack did not like that. And now we have some problems. So I feel like this is what's happening with Copilot, right? Like their strategy is to throw it at everything they have, put it into our most important platforms everywhere, do it so fast that we have to change it after the fact. I've complained about the simple thing of just moving an icon around in the taskbar, but the reality is like the architecture of that thing that is an app has changed at least 3 times that I'm aware of. And it's because this thing is moving so fast. But what doesn't matter is that ChatGPT is everything. Mm-hmm. So Microsoft is over here spinning their wheels. They're doing everything. Every time ChatGPT or any other AI service comes out with a feature, AI podcast, like Google did with Gemini and Notebook LM, Microsoft's like, yep, we have that too. It's called Copilot Podcast, baby. Like they just keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't seem to be working. you know?
Satchit told us he wasn't going to chase markets anymore. He was going to leave.
He's literally, and one thing Richard is intimately aware of and knowledgeable about is that in the early 2000s, Microsoft, Bill Gates came down and said, we are going to bet the company on .NET and everything's going to be .NET. Windows.NET, Windows Server.NET, Office.NET, everything's .NET. To my memory, only one product was ever rebranded as .NET, and that was Visual Studio. And I think it was only for one version, maybe two, but one. I think it was one. And the other product teams were like, "What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't have any .NET in this product. Like, what do you like? We're not."
Well, and they tried to put .NET into Windows, and it didn't go well.
It went so poorly that by the time Vista shipped, it was ordained by Alchin, I believe Jim Alchin, that there will be no .NET in this product. Like, we are not going to ship.
He had to push it all out.
Yeah.
And look, you can't have a non-deterministic memory model in an operating system. You just can't. There are places where .NET could have lived, but they were also trying to do that on the 1.0 version of .NET. Like, it was, destined for failure.
That factors into what's happening now, because that company, that version of Microsoft at the time, at least had the maturity to come to the conclusion, which is what you just said. Like, this can't, like, yes, we overstepped our bounds here a little bit, scale back. I'm sure the plan originally was going, we'll add it back over time. We'll do this thing over time. That is not what's happening today. AI is just occurring. It's just like, and if it's a mistake, too bad. We'll fix it. We'll fix it later. And it's just not working. Like, it's just not working. And there's, I don't know how often this happens, but there's always these reports, Wall Street Journal is always publishing these things where it's like, here's a chart of what people are using when it comes to AI. And it's like, ChatGPT is like, whatever, most of it. And then it's like Gemini, Anthropic, Perplexity. There's a sliver, that's Copilot, or there's nothing, and there's no mention of Copilot. The latest one is
Copilot should be doing better. I mean, Edge does well because it's default on Windows.
But does it though? So what's the market share or usage share for Microsoft Edge, right? It's probably 12, 13%, somewhere in there.
Interesting. So people actively change the browser.
Yeah. So I've said this a lot, but like the greatest success of Google Chrome is that they were able to overcome the power of defaults on the two major personal computing platforms at the time, Windows and Mac, right? Even though both those companies make browsers, and by the way, 20 years later, still do, right? OpenAI ChatGPT is exactly the same thing, but with AI. It's like the brand is so good, it almost doesn't matter. We've talked about this, but it almost doesn't matter what the reality is. Like, if you could sit there and it changes every day, but measure how these things do on different features, and you make a chart, and it's like, well, and then you come to a conclusion, whatever. Maybe today Gemini is the best, maybe Copilot's the best, but ChatGPT is just running away with this. So when you can overcome that, look, I don't even want to do this. If I'm thinking like Notepad supports Markdown now, I'm like, maybe I could just use that. Like, I'll just write with that. It has spell checking and stuff. Like, why not? Like, installing and maintaining apps is a job, and most people are not interested, especially in a computer. It's like, I just want to get it done and get out of here. But those people are using ChatGPT. It's crazy. So they've got a big problem here. I don't know how you fix this. And I look, the other thing is just the amount of money. So to date, what's the date? So next week, maybe not in time for the show, I don't remember which day it is, but Microsoft will release their next earnings statement. We will find out how much they spent in that quarter on AI infrastructure CapEx, and thus for their entire fiscal year. It will be over $80 billion. That much I can guarantee.
As they promised they would.
We will also probably learn a little bit about what they're spending now and that's going to look like going forward. But to date, we'll just call it's been roughly $20 billion for a long time. So far, shareholders, board of directors, whatever, they're like, okay. I mentioned that in not the...
And Satchit's been hesitating on some of his statements. He delayed a couple of data centers. Like, he's saying we're looking for returns.
Yep. I think if it was up to him, like I said, he feels like a high stakes poker player to me. I think he would still be pushing all this, but I just want to put this in perspective, because when people think about the big Microsoft defeats, like the things that they did poorly and lost money on and whatever, the two biggest ones, I think, or two of the bigger ones, are Nokia, right? $7.6 billion write-off. And the other one was they lost DoubleClick to Google. and that became the source of all their money. And having lost that at the last second, they're like, okay, what else is there? And they're like, we'll buy this company called Quantive, no one's ever heard of.
Yep.
$6 billion write down. You could add those together, and that's not even 1/4 of the past 2 years of CapEx expenditure that went into AI. It is a blip. It's
Sure, but
what they spent in a week.
The money's changed.
No, I hear you.
Also,
I'm just
that
saying,
80 billion is asset, right? It is data centers. It actually goes back to cloud, even if it got repurposed away from AI.
Yes, I mean, look, I'm not a financial person. I know that it is instantly deprecated and it becomes less valuable as we move forward in time and all this. I know very little about this, but
I was also very aware that politically there was, hey, it's being harder and harder to build data centers, and AI lifts that constraint. So let's go land grab while we can.
Yeah, I'm just kind of using this from more of a rough number perspective because those things were outrageous at the time.
Yeah,
outrageous.
Just a different league.
And Microsoft is not capable of making a product that can threaten the power of the defaults. Like Copilot is never going to be a big deal on iPhone or Android or whatever platform. Like it's just never going to be. I mean, but OpenAI, ChatGPT, no problem.
Except they're not the defaults either. They've managed to generate a sufficient brand.
No, but that's what I mean. They did it. Like, I don't think I have a link to this, but a year ago, they were quoted as saying, I think it was Sam Altman who said this, our customer base, consumers, obviously smaller businesses, we have no plans to go after managed bigger businesses, enterprises, et cetera. Now they have 3 million of those customers paying every month for ChatGPT. So I don't know if they went after them or not, but they came to them. Yeah.
Well, and part of this is because their employees are using it anyway. And so you have a choice. You either restrict them from using it and give them an alternative, and there's lots of frustration in that, or you buy the enterprise product.
Yeah. Yep. I had
in the sysadmin circle now, the conversation is your company's using AI, whether you like it or not. That's what your employee. They're just cut and pasting into it.
What I want to be super clear about this. I don't actually have much of an opinion about the quality, if you will, of Copilot versus anything else. Like I'm not sitting here saying it's bad. It's my wife actually uses it. She thinks it's great. Yeah. She's a smart person, but objectively, I will tell you that if you're a business owner, an IT admin, a big company, I would trust Microsoft a long time before I would trust OpenAI with anything.
Sure.
And very specifically you're integrating your business data into this thing so that you can ground it in whatever you're doing. You want to make sure that whatever happens with that output, it doesn't get outside of the company through some email or whatever it is. I have a newsflash for you. Even if you're using OpenAI, the only company that's going to prevent that from happening is Microsoft.
Sure.
It is incredible that they are not gaining more traction with this stuff. Like that's incredible.
It's a hard lift. Like, these are the shows we're doing on Run-As. I mean, what does it take to get to deliver on that promise of enterprise security for this? And it's, where is your state of purview?
Yes.
How is your data tagging? What's your subset? The responsible process takes longer.
You could make a really strong argument that even if Copilot, or Microsoft 365 Copilot, whatever, is X% less whatever, efficient, accurate, correct, whatever you want to use, than whatever people are using, that it doesn't matter because the other aspects of that platform outweigh that because they have those protections built in. We have this infrastructure. We are already paying for this idiot. And what are you doing?
And meantime, while you're trying to do the right thing as administrator, all the way to the C-suite, they're cut and pasting into ChatGPT.
Exactly. Yep. And this is the thing. We've talked about this. I mean, every once in a while, a technology comes along where I can just tell that it has broken through the brain-blood barrier and somehow hit with consumers, right? Like the iPod did this 100%. And I remember a friend of mine, not technical, he came to me one day, he's like, should I get an iPod? And I was like, yeah, you should get an iPod. You love listening to music in the car. You listen in the gym with like a Walkman or something. Like, yeah, you should get an iPod. ChatGPT is doing this. The iPhone did this in the enterprise. The iPhone, when it came out the door, had nothing for the enterprise.
iPhone and the iPad. The number of admins that came at me and said, the CIO just showed up with an iPad and said, I'll be using this.
Yeah, you are doing this. Yep, yeah, exactly. And that stuff, over time, it wasn't long. The iPhone a year later, I think, had a lot of whatever it was called at the time, the exchange. So what was it called? The connector, whatever the exchange connector was for mail. Like it would, it worked on iPhone, and like, okay, like we've gotten that in place. And I would say, obviously today, like iPhone and Android both have a lot. There's all kinds of stuff.
Well, we ended up in third-party mobile device management products until Intune got there. There you go. Their acting gear. But for a number of years, we had to run. And you know who was making a good one back in the beginning? Bloody IBM. You had to
not the name I was expecting.
No, totally. What?
Interesting. So yeah, it's like, what would be less likely than IBM?
Yeah.
Oracle? I don't know. WordPerfect?
It was very funny. But, but they caught up eventually, and we went through a lot of compulsions on that. And this is the race that we're in right now.
Yep.
What we don't have are the stories of people cutting, pasting to ChatGPT and actually hurting the company. We all feel bad about it. The tinfoil hat people are really upset about it.
Right.
But we still don't have, we don't have the story.
This is the human error problem, right? So it's possible. No, there are many, many businesses that don't have purview and whatever email data protection stuff in place and whatever. So it doesn't matter what you're doing inside your company. If you like, keep it quiet, anyone can take a picture, take a screenshot, forward an email, whatever, it's going to get out there. That's just human error. We're always the weak link in the chain, which is why AI is going to kill us when they can. But I think they're already there, but when it comes to this kind of thing, literally protecting it, soup to nuts across the board, infrastructure wise, I think it's Microsoft pretty much, right? Unless you're a Google house, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. But giving you choices. Yeah, for sure.
I would say so.
It's just not how people are thinking. And this,
I know, which is incredible.
And this latest SharePoint story does not help.
Yeah. Why don't you, so you probably know more, about this than I do. What happened with SharePoint?
Well, the reality is this was a 0 day that's probably existed for more than a year that Chinese state actors have been manipulating. What happened was that it got detected. So,
and they got into some pretty important stuff using it.
Well, this is the thing is arguably they have been in. They just got detected.
That's a good point. They could have been in for
a year.
A year.
It is a 0 day that's been around for a long time. And what happened was...
Is it on-prem only or also cloud? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It's on-prem only.
It's on-prem only. Okay.
Yeah. But it's, you know what? It is basically the equivalent of the Hafnium exploit for Exchange, where the on-prem server can be fully remote code executed. It's a baddie.
So they have patched it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And that was the whole thing. It was when the MSRC did their announcement on the 19th, it was, here's the fix.
Yeah.
So, but you only get to fix it because you've already detected it.
We're going to find out this was like a buffer overrun problem.
Oh, really? Sure it was.
It's incredible.
It's going to be.
How are we still dealing with this?
Because we're not using memory safe languages.
Well, and we also don't have our best and brightest working on the on-prem product.
That's true.
That's true, Joe.
Legacy products, older products, nobody wants to work on them. They want to work on the hot.
So you've got a maintenance team on it.
Yeah, Richard knows better than I do. But I mean, SharePoint was a particular problem because the extensibility stuff was huge. And getting that stuff on the cloud took a long time. And it probably still never is the same.
No, it never will. Most of it is just not secure enough. And the workarounds are better. You just have to re-engineer. So what happens is these most important SharePoints with lots of customization, there's just no way.
Yeah, because they can't migrate it. And they're like, all right, we're just doing this thing. And I mean, everyone, look, businesses push back at every step on whatever, email at the time, whatever. But I feel like SharePoint might be the last man standing in the on-prem, space in some ways.
That they say, or Palo Alto Networks guesses that thousands of organizations were hacked because of this.
Good.
Yeah. It is Hafnium all over again.
Yeah. And in fact, I think weren't some of them in the government?
Oh yes. No, the big one everyone's excited about is the nuclear monitoring group.
Oh yeah, them. Oh, that's not a big deal, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not like the Chinese government doesn't have their own nuclear weapons. They do.
Yeah, but are we sitting in their network?
Yeah, but they clearly
probably
know more about.
honestly,
I hope so. I hope we are.
Yeah.
I pray we are.
Yeah.
And again, we're only hearing about this now because they finally got detected and they put out a patch. Goodness, what they have not talked about, which is the concerning part for me, is how long.
Well, we know it was exploited.
Yeah, but for how long? Like exfiltration takes time, and if you do it fast, it becomes more obvious. So the fact that we didn't detect the exfil means it's been long.
Well, like the Microsoft hack that we never got all the details on was kind of the same thing. Like this thing had been open for some indeterminate, well, I'm sure they know now, but at the time, indeterminate amount of time. And they just,
the argument for when we detected hafnium is only when the Chinese were covering their tracks by putting the exploit everywhere. So it was hard to detect where they'd actually collected every email that organization had.
Akamai says more than 20% of observed environments are exposed to the vulnerability. Yeah. So that's how widespread it was.
This is hafnium again. Yeah.
Yeah. It's bad.
It is. And the problem here is what we don't know yet, because it hasn't been enough time. What's it been? Less than a week? Mm-hmm. What's the next step with hafnium is how many are still not patched after a month because nobody's paying attention to it.
Yeah.
You can make noise right now, but it doesn't mean anybody knows to actually patch the server, or it's not our server that they don't know.
Yep.
And in the end, how did hafnium actually get fixed? The FBI got permission to use the exploit to close the exploit against the customer's will or the customer's interests, right? But they ultimately, that's how they closed them. So I expect in the next couple of weeks, hopefully it'll be faster, they'll push that
something similar. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the only logical
This is like
answer.
The vaccine is the virus kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it. We got to use your exploit to run an arbitrary piece of code that closes the exploit.
Right. So it's really two exploits, because first there was an authentication exploit so they could get in.
Yep.
And then there was a second
execution.
Yeah, remote code execution exploit. Yeah. So,
Classic.
Well,
it's a classic. I mean, not a good one, but it's,
Yikes.
Yeah. I've been using a lot of pat phrases today, but what do you call it when you don't learn the lessons of history, or what happens?
Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
And expecting SharePoint to work. Sorry.
Everybody uses SharePoint though, right?
I was dumping on SharePoint at some conference in Haarlem in the Netherlands, and the guy next to me leaned in and he goes, I think a lot of these guys are SharePoint administrators. And I was like, how many guys are SharePoint guys? And it was like 90%. And I was like,
yeah, of course.
It was like,
it's not like they were confused.
Know your audience, Paul.
They knew also.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise.
You know what you did. I was just following orders. Yeah, we've heard that one before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing is, like, SharePoint was a good career, right? Like,
that was especially job security. Yeah. 100%.
And I know plenty of great folks who just dropped off the map because there's so much money in SharePoint. It's like, I'm not doing any of this other stuff. I'm just going to go make the money on SharePoint.
Yeah. Wow. Well, they're going to be busy for the next month or so. That's for sure.
If they're still involved, because a lot of them have retired out or made their money, didn't want to do the online migrations, or the company didn't want to do. And so the bigger thing here is, why are a whole bunch of these going to go unpatched? The same reason the Exchange server is going unpatched. There's nobody to patch it.
There's like no oversight at all. Yeah.
There's nobody. They're not even looking. You know how you know you don't have the exploit? You never looked at the logs.
Right. You'll never. I didn't have cancer. I never went to the doctor.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Oh boy. That's not good.
Yeah. Well, and it's the thing that stuns me is, you knew you just closed one like this a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that should have been a security audit.
Were you not on everything after this? Like, but I presume they are. I just did an interview with a red teamer. That's their job. And so it's like
red teamer at Microsoft?
At Microsoft, yeah. And
it's hard these are hard to find, I'm sure.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, they're given missions like that. It's like, go steal data from SharePoint. Right. That's what a red team mission looks like.
This stuff is always, it's like the TSA model. Something horrible has happened. Let's just focus on that.
Yeah.
And if Microsoft follows the pattern of the past couple of years, there'll be a SharePoint resiliency initiative and, blah, 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 whatever.
Well, we have the Future Secure Initiative, right? That's been going on, and this is ultimately part of it. Although primarily FSI is focused on misconfiguration and bad credential usage, not actual exploits. And that's, again, this is two totally independent exploits.
Yeah.
But they're also both old exploits. So they have been sitting in the 0-day weapon hopper at certain groups for some time.
Yep. I think Yeah.
Let's talk about something happy.
Let's talk about ducks.
Ducks.
Everybody likes ducks.
So DuckDuckGo this week made two separate announcements on different days on the opposite ends of the AI spectrum. The first one is that, I know it's crazy. Like, we're going to serve both masters here. So DuckDuckGo makes a search service. They also make something called Duck AI, which is, one of those kind of anonymous chat bot things that interacts with other models in the background, et cetera, et cetera. It's accessible from DuckDuckGo search, or you can just go to duck.ai on the web, et cetera. Okay. So they added, I actually have to say, this is pretty cool. So, because I've noticed this thing. I've talked about this with like my smart screen at home, which is not AI, but same problem where, hey, G, I don't want to see this photo anymore on this photo slideshow. I was like, okay, so you want me to remove the photo? And it's like, would you just? So what they're allowing you, this is apparently not unique to me. A lot of people hate that kind of thing. So they've just added a bunch of customization to this thing, which I have to say, I want to see this everywhere. So it's like tone of response, which could be like casual, professional, friendly, et cetera. Length of response, right? Let it be very verbose or don't. What the AI's role is in your life, like brainstorm partner, career coach, chef, coding coach, whatever. You can explain to them what your role is. Like, I am a programmer. I am using you for programming. Don't tell me about the weather. Don't, talk about whatever else. Whether you can have clarifying questions, you can name, you can tell it your name, you can give it a name, right? It doesn't have to be called whatever the name was, Duck AI, whatever. And then you can also fill out a form where you can provide it with additional information that you always, instructions, I should say, that you want this thing to follow. Nice, right? No one uses this service, but that's a good idea. Smart. On the other end of the spectrum, they are now allowing you to basically completely turn off AI as much as is possible in DuckDuckGo, the search engine, right? And so the latest feature is there's a toggle you can turn off AI generated images from search results, right? So if you're searching for an image, you can say, I never want to see that. But actually, that's just the latest feature like this. There's a URL you can go to get called it's noai.duckduckgo.com, right?
Nice.
And it does that image filter thing. It turns off AI assisted summaries. It gets rid of any mention of Duck AI. You couldn't even go click to find it. So,
the no AI in my search results thing. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Right. That's what I want in Google Photos.
That's what a lot of people want.
Yeah. I think okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's smart. So they play both sides. You want the AI? I got you all your AI. Yeah, you want no AI? I got no AI right over.
I love you too, man. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Smart.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at this. I'm going to be talking about DuckDuckGo and like little tech such as it is later in the back of the book. But this kind of factored into this because I've been meaning to sort of formally kind of write this out a little bit. And it was after I saw this, I was like, okay, I think I need to kind of document this, but good for them. So that's good. Now, if they would just put extensions into their browser, maybe I would, consider using it, but we'll see. But I like the company. And they're in Pennsylvania, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't do extensions in the DuckDuckGo browser?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, but there's several yeah, I know. Yeah, it does. I mean, the most important extensions are the privacy ones. That's built in. Like they actually do a pretty good job with that. But things like, I'm trying to think what else.
I have a lot, like a
translation, AI, grammar checking. Yeah, it's all.
I have to have
Instapaper. Exactly. Yep.
Search. Well, I guess I have to use DuckDuckGo.
Look, I think for them it's a company, right? So search engine now AI, that is probably much more of a focus from an engineering perspective for them. But man, I wish they would just dot the I's on the browser because it's real close. Like I actually really like the browser, but it's not there.
We're going to talk about an option in a little bit, but first, let's get all excited for the Xbox.
There's only a couple of things this week, but these are both good news, I guess. No, not I guess. They are both good news. So Microsoft in the Xbox Insider program is now testing a feature which is related to crossplay and to Xbox Play Anywhere, where if you're on the Xbox today and you look at your library or you look at what's available for you to play or stream, like download and play or stream if you have that subscription, you're going to see Xbox games. if you are on the PC and you do the same thing, you're going to see PC games. But now they're going to mix and match them. So I think for now it makes most sense only for like Play Anywhere games, because obviously like you bought Call of Duty, whatever. Well, maybe that's not a good example, but on Xbox, and this is not really true actually, but let's say it is, it's a Play Anywhere title, so we would let you play it on PC. You don't have to buy it again. Like it would appear there, and that would, show you what was available. It's smart, but I think this is actually pointing to a couple of different things. One is the integration of other stores, where you're going to see games from, Steam and Epic and et cetera. But also this coming platform unification thing we keep talking about, that as the Xbox becomes a PC, essentially, from an architectural perspective, that list of games is going to grow pretty dramatically. So we have ways to sort of play like Xbox console games on PCs through streaming. It's like, okay, we don't have a way, I don't believe, yet to do the opposite, but I think we're going to get there. Like it's going to become all one thing. So you'll have a cloud playable library that will cross those two platforms essentially over time. Nice. So we'll see how that evolves. Microsoft announced some months ago that a game that was coming out later this year called The Outer Worlds was going to be its first title to cost $79.99. Everyone's super excited about that. Mm-hmm. So much so that they decided to lower the price to $69.99 because
now it seems cheap.
Yeah,
it's only $70.
It's funny how that works, right? Because for several years, many years, $59.99 was the price for like new AAA type games, and it kind of quickly escalated like $69.78. Like, and I think they got a lot of bad feedback from that. So
this game kind of looks interesting, a little bit BioShock and a little bit No Man's Sky and. Yep. A little bit, I don't know. It looks cool.
Yeah. Now, there is a more expensive edition, which I don't think has been addressed. So
yeah, I'm sure there's always $129.99 version.
So I don't know if that's gone down by $10 an hour.
Deluxe with a T-shirt.
Yeah,
exactly.
Special
if you're already buying the $100+ you don't want the extra $10 is not going to make any difference for you.
Right.
Keep the money and throw in an extra skin.
Yes, right, exactly. Yep.
I really loved BioShock. I would like to see more like that.
That was one of the last games that really scared me too. Like you couldn't play that one at night with the headphones on. Like
that's really great.
That game is very much like Assassin's Creed to me, where it started out so good, and I think I did I replayed the first one, and then over time they kind of they weren't as replayable or as interesting, or it was kind of more of the same or whatever. And I know they changed the location and all that, but like Far Cry was like this too. Like they kind of lost me over time. But I agree. Like you go back and look at the original BioShock, especially that opening sequence. It's like, oh my God, how is this not a movie or a long form TV series on HBO or whatever? Like
I really enjoy it. I thought it peaked at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Like,
that's pretty late in the game. Okay, so I was going back just like maybe.
Because that Greek world was astonishing, and like at one point, I just stopped playing the game. I started following around. Like
I would say like the one that was in Egypt had kind of a compelling location as well. The one
Plus, you could walk around and learn things. Like you could say, "Tell me about that." Tell me. It was really kind of.
It was like jumping around Paris in the 1800s, like when Notre Dame was still being built or whatever, and that was kind of cool. That was cool.
There's
these little things,
was interesting.
Yeah,
but you're right. The storyline gets real ham-fisted after a while. Like.
I mean, it's the nature. You have, what are you going to do? Like you have something worked, like we'll do more of it. We'll try to change a little bit. You change it too much, people don't like it. Change it too little, people get bored.
This immersion into an ancient time in history was
that's pretty cool.
Like
neat idea.
It's all I ever wanted was you have one superpower. It's like I want to time travel. I don't have to be there physically. I don't have to interact with it. I just want to walk around and see it.
To be able to do that.
I followed this old lady NPC character who didn't even have any dialogue, but she got up. She went to the market. She bought flour. She went home.
Wow.
She made bread.
That is really cool.
I just want to be super clear about this. If you did that in real life, you'd be in jail.
Or you'd get some really good bread.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now he's a serial killer. So.
We're going to take a little break. Back of the book is just around the corner. What do you do if you hate big tech? Paul Thurrott's got the answer next. Meanwhile, how's that for a tease?
That's pretty good.
Coming up next. Meanwhile, if you're not a member of Club Twit, I'd love to invite you to join. Actually, if you were a member of Club Twit, you wouldn't be seeing this or any of the other ads. That's one of the first benefits, ad-free versions of everything we do. Because I'm not a big believer in, you give me money and I still show you ads. No. For $10 a month, no more ads. You get access to a wonderful hang in the Club Twit Discord. Lots of fun talking to people watching the shows, but you could talk round the clock because there's all sorts of different topics going on. And it's all the stuff, we geeks love to talk about. The Discord also features a lot of special events. In fact, tomorrow, I mentioned before, the live PC build with Richard Campbell. We stream those live, but after the fact, you can only get them in the Twit Plus feed available just to club members, at least for the first month. Usually in 30 days, we make that available. Same with Paul's Hands on Windows show. You can hear the audio. Everybody gets to hear the audio. But if you want the video, and it really is a lot better with a video, you got to be in the club. So the main reason I would say to join the club is it supports what we're doing here. The club now covers about 25% of our operating costs. That's a big chunk. If it weren't for the club, we would have to lay 25% of our staff off or cancel 25% of our shows or both. I don't want to do that. I'd like to continue to expand, continue to do specials. We're going to be covering the Google Made By event August 20th. We stream those in the club only. Chris Marquardt's Photo Time, Stacy's Book Club, Micah's Crafting Corner, Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott, Hands on Apple with Micah, all of that in the club. So please, we'd like to have you in the club. twit.tv/clubtwit. If you're not a member, join us, will you? Now, let's go to the back of the book and Paul Thurrott's tip of the week.
Yeah, I feel like I've been kind of building toward this because I've made changes in the kind of software services, whatever, that I use over the years, like anyone does, I guess. But it is interesting that, I kind of came of age career-wise in the sense just as Microsoft was rising to dominance. And, when it comes to like personal computing, like in the late 90s, it was Microsoft. It was Microsoft and this little sliver of whatever else, And obviously today the world's quite a bit different. I mentioned earlier, I went and looked at like the apps I was using and writing about in 2005, so 20 years ago. And there's some good ones in there. It's like MSN Music, Microsoft Anti-Spyware, Spot Watches, Longhorn is still a thing, MSN Search, first 64-bit version of Windows XP, Microsoft Digital Image Suite, 2006, Windows OneCare Live. They've revealed the name of Windows Vista that year.
That's the year Connect. We were started doing the show.
Yeah, Palm was circling the drain, and so they partnered with Microsoft and made a version of their Treo phone, Treo Pro, I think it was, Treo, whatever, running Windows Mobile, right, which was a piece of garbage. Was MTV Urge, which nobody remembers, but MTV Urge was one of the third-party music services that plugged into Windows Media Player, or whatever version we were on at the time, 8 or something, and was sort of the predecessor to what became Zune and, later whatever, Groove, Xbox Music, whatever. The Xbox 360 came out that year. First Office 12 previews, etc. My favorite, though, I think I might have said this earlier, was the Windows Media Center 2005 Update Rollup 2. Man, they could really name, the best name names, a lot of products,
The very best.
It's an omnibus name.
Yeah, but now, we have all this certification occurring in our world. The problems with OneDrive and folder backup being turned on against my will pushed me to Google Drive and then eventually to Synology Drive. Similar related ads in Word drove me to finally just adopt Markdown across the board. So I use Typora now. I do use Microsoft stuff, where it makes sense. I mean, I use Clipchamp for video editing. It's still surprisingly amazing. It's just an amazing. I got to do another episode about that, actually. It's just an awesome app. Xbox, obviously, Visual Studio for software development, et cetera. But I use a lot more of these things. So from time to time, I've sort of talked about I'm not like the Unabomber. I don't live in a cabin. I'm not, you got to do the right thing for you, and I don't have a plan to just eliminate big tech or anything like that. But we are suddenly in this world where there is a lot of what I'll call little tech solutions that are really good. And this is like a better time than ever, I would say, to kind of think about at least these things. So I finally just kind of laid out like, what are the companies that I actually really trust in this space? And those companies are Notion, Proton, DuckDuckGo, right? We mentioned earlier, Affinity, right? Which makes these graphics tools like Affinity Photo, which I use every day, which is a pay once alternative to Photoshop, right? Which you normally have to pay for over time, or if you buy the Elements version year to year, whatever it is. I wish they made a video editor, but okay. Companies that make browsers like Mozilla, although they're falling off a cliff, but Brave, Opera, Vivaldi, obviously. The browser company, very interesting. Automatic, which owns Beeper, right? Doing the cross-platform messaging thing. Pocket Casts, which I use for podcasts. Tumblr, which I don't use, but blogging, etc. The big ones are WordPress and what's that thing called? WooCommerce, which I use I use both those on my site, right? But then you get into the kind of open source question, right? Because a lot of the best solutions in this space are actually open source, right? Linux, probably a step too far for mainstream people. We'll talk when they get to 10%, but there are good kind of user-friendly Linux distributions. But if you're not willing to go that far, which most people probably aren't, open source Office suites like LibreOffice or OnlyOffice, et cetera. Video editors like OneShot, CapCut, which that one I'm not 100% sure is open source, but DaVinci
There
Resolve.
is an open source alternative, I think.
Yeah. AnyType and Joplin are both Notion equivalents that are open source, and Obsidian, which is not open source, but
it's kind of open standard because it's.
I think of it as like open adjacent. It's like a
you can always.
But at least you can get your data
migrate
out of it. Like you can always get your data out.
Yeah, it's local data. Yeah.
GIMP, which I don't use and won't, but it is free and open source. There's something called Paint.net. A lot of Microsoft
Blender.
Remember? Yep. VLC Media Player. Kind of goes on.
So many good open source tools.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So I mean, this isn't really about big tech versus little tech per se, except that it kind of is, because what you see in big tech is that enshortification, I think, where they take their own strategies, their own aims are more important than their customers, and that these things should be healthy relationships where you're both getting something out of it. Like if I pay Microsoft for something, you shouldn't harass me for enabling backup and then putting it on after I said no. Like that's a bad relationship. And so
I love your metaphor that it's abusive. It's an abusive relationship.
It is abusive. I mean, like, what do you,
yeah,
why you wouldn't put up with this?
They're exploiting us. Yeah.
So, like I said, I through whatever combination of factors, we are kind of in this golden era of viable alternatives across the board. I didn't less Slack, for example, because Slack is owned by Salesforce, which I hate, but I also hate Slack. But if you're outside of the Microsoft space, you don't want to be any part of that. You don't want Teams, whatever. Like,
there's degrees. I think that's the point. You you can go from big to medium to little tech to open source.
Yeah, use it where it makes sense.
Yeah.
One of the most amazing things that's happened to me this year is I've been meaning to replace the old NAS that I had for a long time. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it this year. And when we were in Mexico on the previous trip, I was researching this, so I start to learn like Synology Drive works like OneDrive and Google Drive. It does, files on demand.
I've been using that ever since you recommended it, and I love it.
And in the back, I was afraid to even say it out loud. I was like, I'm going to look at this. I hope it works. I don't expect it to. But if maybe it's just a backup, I don't know, whatever. And then I actually started using it, and it was so much better than I thought.
Fantastic. Yeah.
And it opens up this whole new world of like, oh my God, like I'm using it right now. So one day, probably on the next trip here, I'll have a NAS here, and those two things will talk to each other, right? But for now, I have one NAS, and it is in Pennsylvania, and I use it every day. I use it on this every laptop. I use it instead of OneDrive and Google Drive, and it has never not worked right. It's great. And I keep waiting for that moment because I know it's going to stab me in the back eventually. But so far, it's been great. And I'm not saying everyone drop.
You're talking about the caveats here, which is what you need to do is plan your exit strategy too.
Right. And Richard,
they get acquired or they scale up or
Well, that's exactly like this little B thing, which was as small tech as you can get and is now Amazon.
Yeah.
Richard was there when the unexpected happened to me. We were together in Puerto Vallarta, and we were going to have breakfast, and I burp, my phone, burp, what's going on? And Google
What's going on
or
is you're not having breakfast.
Oh, that
You
was
gotta
the
go.
worst.
YouTube just cut me out. You know,
Yeah. Was
So-
that your beginning of the end? Was that your
it was at one of the
Straw
steps.
that-
No, the big, honestly, one of the big
Great
ones.
milestone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a big one, and there's a whole thing for me this year where I'm doing more along. One of the things I'm a little nervous to raise yet, but I did want to talk to you guys about it at some point, and I will write about it. Is this notion of it's like a succession plan, right? I walk outside of the house, I get hit by a bus, and I'm dead, and my kids or my wife have to get into all my accounts. How do I you need to do work to make sure they can do that and get in everything. And you got to figure that out.
Yep.
And I don't have the answer to how you do that. I don't think there's any one answer really, but it's tied into identity management and password management through something like I use Proton Pass, whatever you guys use, whatever. But this is like, as all of our lives are occurring, as all of our important data is digital, you have to figure this stuff out. It's not as simple as someone walking into your house and doling out your remaining items to whomever, selling the house, and you move on with life. Like, they have to be able to access our bank accounts and our, there's a whole thing in there. But yes, to me, the biggest one at the first maybe was the combination of OneDrive and Word badgering and hectoring me and forcing me down some path. That one YouTube thing was a huge one. Like, it was really big. And then the Synology thing was just like almost a happenstance. Like, I was going to do this anyway. I think the YouTube thing put me over the top because I needed storage because I have to back up those videos, right?
Yep.
If they ever cut me out again. But then I saw how good Synology Drive was, and I was like, oh wow, that was like eye opening.
What if I didn't send them to in the first place?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm running my Synology as a backup to my OneDrives on the risk of being cut out. But
right. So I
maybe it's just a
thought
step.
that's what I was going to do. But now I realize I can do it in reverse. I can use OneDrive and Google Drive and whatever else as a backup to what's on Synology. Like, Synology becomes my one
primary
place of truth, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a whole thing here. But anyway, my point is only this. Look, Windows is a platform. It's great. I still prefer it to the Mac or Linux or whatever. It's what I use. It's not just because it's my job. Like, I really do prefer it. I do use a bunch of stuff that comes with Windows. I do use some Microsoft stuff too, but I'm not a big fan of some of the stuff that I see out there. It's not just Microsoft, but I'm obviously firmly immersed in that. But I just wanted to, I feel like I've kind of dipped into this from time to time, and I put this out because I wanted other people to kind of come back and say, okay, here's another one. Here's another company you can trust, or here's another thing in this category that's good, like an app or solution, whatever. And that this becomes kind of a baseline, and it will change, moving forward. But just to kind of, just formally be like, look, this exists. Like, you don't have to stick with the thing just because it's there. Like, you can do, AI is a tough one. AI is something I did not address in this article. And I was fascinated the next day, today, to see an announcement on my inbox from Proton, which was one of the companies I trust. And you got to look up this company and how they're structured and what they did to ensure they will always be the way they are, that it can't be bought and no one's ever going to take them away or whatever. They announced, like everyone else is announcing these days, their own AI chatbot, right? Theirs is called Lumo. They haven't been super clear on what models they're using in the background, et cetera. But this is one of those privacy first, everything's encrypted, you own your data, et cetera, type companies. This, like the DuckDuckGo, the Duck AI thing I was mentioning earlier, where they let you configure everything to a degree, which I think is appropriate, is very interesting to me, because I think there's some class or some kinds of people who don't trust this stuff for good reason in many cases, right? Where I think like this kind of thing can help address that. Now, open source AI is not as good as the big tech AI stuff. I mean, I think it's fair to say that. I mean, I'm sure Apple, which is big tech, but I'm sure Apple would like to do their own AI, but they have to pass it off to ChatGPT and eventually to Gemini and whatever else. But you can try this thing for free. If you have a Proton account, you can use it a little bit more. I'm not sure what the exact details are. And they do have a subscription. I do pay for a Proton subscription of some kind that spans their services. I'm not sure yet if I'm, part of this or whatever they give me. I actually know, but This is something to look at in this scheme of what I just talked about. Like it's like a little tech company that I explicitly trust, entering a part of the market that is really not trustworthy, right? And I'm not telling you it's great. I'm not telling you, but I am telling you maybe you should look at it. And I'm going to be looking at it, and we'll see. We'll see how it is. We'll see if it performs better over time, et cetera. But they mention things like, look, you're integrating, you're talking to them about these things with your health, your finances. Like, what are you doing? Like, you can't trust these companies. And they even kind of they crap on Apple in kind of an interesting way. Where it's like, unlike Apple Intelligence and others, Lumo is not a partnership with OpenAI or other American or Chinese AI companies. Love being lumped into that little box.
Nice.
And your queries are never sent to any third parties. And so they said, going forward, our research and development will remain focused on open models, which we will continuously improve and augment. So yeah, I mean, it's probably not there today, right? It's probably terrible, I would guess. But this is a space to watch. It's worth looking at. That makes sense.
Yes. Bravo.
All right. Let me go lay down.
Subscribe to the premium version of therot.com if you want to read the whole piece. It's a good piece.
Yeah, I've been on kind of a tear past several days with this stuff for some reason, but that's what happens. I don't know.
Welcome to the dark side, Paul.
Yes. Thank you. I do feel the power of the dark side.
Yes. What do you want to do next? Is it your turn, Richard?
I think it's Run As time.
Run As Radio.
Yeah. This week's show, before I get into it, it's episode 994. So episode 1000 is 6 weeks away. And I finally have a plan. And that plan is to do a Q&A show with my friend Paul Thurrott.
Wait, what's up?
Hello?
I'm sorry.
Testing? Is this thing on?
Yeah. So at the lead-in bumper for this show this week, I actually talk about it and say, hey, if you want a question answered, you can email me at info@runasradio.com, or better still, send me an audio clip asking your question so I can include it in the show.
It's about time. We hear so little of Paul these days.
Yeah, he's a shy kind of guy. And I've also made up a 1000th episode version of the Run As mug. So anybody who gets a mention on the 1000th episode will get this very rare Run mug.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there'll be 1,000.
I have a Run As mug. How rare is this mug?
There's a few hundred of those, including many VPs at Microsoft. And they are popular in that respect, but I decided to make a special edition for this, the 1000th episode version. So I
was using it to hold paper clips, but now I'm going to put coffee in it.
Yeah, it's a good coffee mug, but then I have to replace it occasionally. They do eventually wear out. I break them every so often.
I like it.
But meantime, after you get past that 30-second bumper, I chatted with April Dunham about Copilot Studio. So very again, talking to sysadmins who don't want to do a lot of programming, but are interested in the AI agent angle. And so Copilot Studio is that low-code, no-code solution to bringing agents into the equation. And April, who's been in this space for forever, certainly in the how do you do stuff with Power Apps and SharePoint and things like that, we talked through how this integrates into your organization and you can take advantage of the new tooling that's been going on here. Microsoft's been doing lots of changes in this space, but they're sort of settling on a pattern now to be able to set up some good template solutions for this so that you can empower your users as an administrator to build agents specific to their Power Apps and to that low-code space. So she's got a great video called Your First Copilot Studio Agent in Minutes on YouTube, and I included a link to that in the show notes. But certainly something you can work with, and they understand MCPs, so there's including a bunch of the Microsoft MCPs. So
nice.
I get into that without having to be a programmer, just an administrator or just technical enough. You can make it happen there, and April got us started.
I hear good things about Playwright, actually. I didn't realize it was a Microsoft tool. That's cool.
Yeah. Microsoft's been backing it for a while, and they created this MCP for it, which now makes, we did a whole .NET Rocks on this as well, because one of the problems you have with test tools in general is that you make a new version of the website, you often break a lot of your tests. But what if your tests were driven by a set of prompts fed through Playwright. So essentially regenerating your tests gets a lot more efficient.
Nice.
That was a great conversation we had with Debbie O'Brien over on .NET Rocks for those who are interested.
Nice. RunAsRadio.com, show 994, April Dunham.
1,000 is upon us. 1,000 is upon us.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, I think we should celebrate with some brown stuff.
Well, I finally ran through all of the gifts and things and actually had to go shopping. And I was in the local liquor store where there still is no American bourbon, but there is Scottish.
Ben Romach.
Ben Romach, which I had not had before. And which is funny because it's been around a long time. It's nominally a Speyside. I mean, it's in the county of Moray, which includes the Speyside. This is the larger area of which they once known as Elginshire, because the biggest town is Elgin, which is about 25,000 people. They got renamed as the Moray Shire in 1919. The second largest town is Forres, which is about 10,000 people, which is where Ben Romach is. Of course, we've mentioned this before. The northern part of Scotland here has had humans on it going back to Neolithic times. Although the area was this specific area, this particular inlet where Forres is, was mentioned by Ptolemy in 100 AD. So it's also got a very famous carved rock by the Picts called the Sweno Stone, which was a commemoration of a successful battle of the Picts against the Norse, likely around 900 AD, plus or minus 50 years. It's also the location in Shakespeare's Macbeth of Duncan's castle. In fact, when the three witches are meeting on the moorlands, those are real moorlands outside of Forres. So you can go, stand where where Shakespeare was describing these locations. They're real locations. 1898, the original distillery is built by Duncan McCallum and F.W. Brickman. They run for a whole 2 years, make their first products in 1900, and then shut down. They run out of money. McCallum gets some additional money and reopens it as the Forres Distillery instead of calling it Ben Romach. Just in time for World War I, where they shut down again. They try and start up after, run for a few years, shut down through Prohibition. And then World War II. By 1953, it is sold to Distillers Company, DCL, which is the path to Diageo eventually. Who ran it for 30 years, from 53 to 83, and then it got mothballed, shut down for about a decade, where it was acquired by the Urquhart family. Now, and when mothballed meaning stripped for parts, there was nothing left. Now, who are the Urquharts? Well, the Urquharts own Gordon and MacPhail. And Gordon MacPhail is another very old organization inside of Scotland. They were founded in 1895. And these were grocery and wine merchants, James Gordon and John Alexander MacPhail. But one of their early employees was a fellow by the name of John Urquhart, who began there as an apprentice. And he's specifically focused on the whiskey side of the business. So they're grocery and wine merchants, but they were bringing in barrels of whiskey and eventually got into, you got to pick your casks. And then they started doing blends. And a lot of this was Urquhart's work. He was also instrumental in the idea of doing long-aged whiskey, where he started buying casks that they weren't going to touch for a decade or 2 decades, or in one case, 6 decades. And he became a senior partner when the founders passed. He took over the business entirely, and it's been in the Urquhart family ever since, 4 generations now. So after John, his son George ran it, and then his sons Ian and David and Michael. And right now, the 4th generation operates Gordon MacPhail. So Neil is the non-exec chairman. Stephen Rankin runs the Prestige Group. Stuart is the operations director, and Richard is head of sales for the Americas. So that's a lot of Urquharts. So they acquired, they'd always wanted to have their own distillery, and they bought Ben Romach as this very small distillery in 1993, refitted it over 5 years. And in 1998, Bonnie Prince Charles, now King Charles, opened the distillery for them. And coincidentally, part of this story has to do with a fellow by the name of Keith Cruikshank, who he was in the distilling business already in Scotland, but he got hired on at that restart in 1998 to be the manager of the company within a couple of years, and has been through the run of Ben Romach, only left this year to join another small distillery in Speyside called Colburn. This is a small place. They don't make a ton of whiskey, but while they are in the Spey region, it's much more of a Highland style, and it's peated, which is weird. It's at 12 ppm, which is a very low. They call it just a whisper of peat smoke, although I have tasted this, and that's a pretty loud whisper. You could hear it coming. I would consider it a peated whiskey at 12 ppm. And generally they say peated is like 10 to 15 ppm, as opposed to Lagavulin at 40, which would be significantly peated. And then there are, of course, the crazy ones like the high peats in the 60 to 100, the Octomore at 300. I don't know why you would do that to yourself. And we remind ourselves why we put peat into whiskey in the first place. It's because it was the cheapest way to dry the malt. So, before the Industrial Revolution, if you go out to the early 1800s, where whiskey is still, everything's peated. Spey was no different. They made it then. Now, there were different kinds of peat, of course, right? The Islay whiskeys are what the seaweed peat versus the heather peats in the north. But which begs the question, how does peat get made from seaweed in the first place? And the answer, of course, is that the land of those islands is still rising from the Ice Age. And so, it takes several hundred years to make peat. So the 10,000-year-old peat, the seaweed that's now well on dry land and has become peat, is why we get that sort of iodine type peat that the Islas are well known from. And this is very much heather peat, so it's not that style. Why did they go away from peat? Because peat got expensive and cheaper drying materials were available. And that cheaper drying material was coal. So as the coal revolution takes a hold in Scotland, and then railways, the cheapest way to dry your malt becomes coal driven. And nobody likes to flavor coal, so they just use it for heat. They don't use it for taste. And it was the Ardmore Distillery in 1898, around the time that Benromach was being formed, that was the first to switch to coal for their heat. And that's why Islay is still peated, because when you're on an island, it's kind of tricky to make a railway. So all of the mainlanders switched over to the lower cost things, and the Islas were sticking with their peat. And so Speysides, as soon as the train line started coming through, they switched across to coal as quickly as possible. And by the end of World War II, there's literally no peat left in the northern parts of Scotland. They just stopped doing it. It's too expensive, and this is a much more efficient way to go about it. Now, as whiskey gets more popular in the 50s and the 60s, some start adding in peat because it's got some character to it. But then when you get into a downturn in the 80s, the peat goes away again. So the fact that Benromach calls himself Speyside with traditional peating is interesting. There are very few. I mean, even Balvenie once in a while does a peat week, where they do use a bit of malted peat barley to do the flavors there. This is a small operation. They don't obviously grow their own barley. Most don't. They actually use they purchase the barley for the big malt houses already peated to specification. They turn it into wort using a combination of both brewer's yeast and distiller's yeast, typically 3 to 5 day fermentation. 3 would be normal, 5 would be long, but it's all hand operations here. They have no automation whatsoever. So they literally ferment until they're happy with the ABV and sort of the texture of that early wort. They use large wooden washbacks, only 11,000 liters, tiny washbacks. There's 4 of them. And then they only have 1 pair of stills, and they're some of the smallest stills in the business. The wash still is 7,500 liters, and the spirit still is 5,000 liters. Now, this has a consequence in that there's only so much room for reflux. So it tends towards a spicier whiskey to use these small stills. Near as I can tell with everything I've read, there's only 2 people who are actually involved in the distilling process inside of Benromach at all. So it's very, very personal, and they run a small operation, 500,000 liters a year. And their Benage warehouses only hold about 8,000 casks. But they're big believers of using sherry in their aging, very Speyside thing to do. And so they use both sherry casks and what are known as now being talked about as sherry seasoned casks. This is the modern way, because there's simply not enough sherry produced for the amount that the whiskey industry needs. You can now buy barrels to specification from sherry producers. You can even choose whether you use European or American oak, and they will put sherry in it for 3 years for the purpose of treating that barrel so that you can use it for sherry aging. This is different from traditional sherry casks in the fact that traditional sherry casks are almost entirely European oak, no other kinds. They tend to be very large and heavy barrels, 500 liters being normal, and they are used repeatedly for sherry. And so they build up a character that when you finally get them for use in whiskey, has a lot of depth of flavor, and typically sherry finishes are short, a few months at most. The sherry seasoned casks don't have that same impact, and so you need to age for longer in those barrels. But there's been some special editions, sherry casking in American oak, that are very popular and kind of special. This is not one of these. It uses very traditional approaches. The Ben Romack 10 was not necessarily destined to be a 10. They had come up with a new recipe, and this is from Cruikshank's interview on the topic, and they were thinking probably be a 12 or a 15, but somewhere around 9 years, the flavor was coming up so nicely that they decided it was really great at 10, and so they made it a 10. And that gives it a distinct advantage. For a Scottish single malt, it's $50. It's just not that expensive. And so bottled at 43%, and you can't smell the peat coming in. It's not even boozy. It's mostly smelling a bit of wood, and a bit of the barley flavors are still in there. But boy, when you drink it, it's like, wait a second, that's smoky. Now, it's not hugely smoky, but it's definitely the dominant flavor. But there's also a lot of that spicy kind of, I know it comes from the barley, that they've got a lot more of the character, that sort of sharpness. They haven't pulled the sulfurs quite as heavily, so it's got a little bitter, a little bite. It's got some clout to it. It's not real mouth-filling and creamy, but it drinks nice. And yeah, very warming. Like, you definitely had a good sip of whiskey there. This is a funny space side because it's peated. It's not a special edition. Every Ben Romack 10 is like this. I'd consider it an excellent intro whiskey to peat. If you've never gone into peat before, I would go here. It's a great place to start.
Very good. Richard Campbell, thank you for the whiskey pick of the week. Thank you, Paul Thurrott, for being such a grump. And I must say, this is the first Windows Weekly with not one but two references to Shakespeare in it, which is pretty amazing.
That's odd.
Almost unlikely. We do Windows Weekly every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. Watch it live or download it from our website, twit.tv/WW. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to it, but the best thing to do is subscribe in your favorite podcast client. That way you'll get it as soon as we're done. Well, as soon as Kevin King is done fixing it up, and you'll get it each week. Do leave us a good review. Tell the world how great Windows Weekly is. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks to our club members for making this possible. You'll find Richard at runnersradio.com. That's where .NET Rocks also is. You'll find Paul at Thurrott.com. Become a premium member. Find out why big tech sucks and what you could do about it. He also writes about big tech. His books, Windows Everywhere, A History of Windows Through Its Programming Frameworks, and the Field Guide to Windows 11 are available at leanpub.com, where you set your own price. But don't be a cheapskate, okay? Okay. Paul, Richard, we'll see you again next week. Thank you, all you winners and dozers. We'll see you next week, right here on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.